This is our paranormal podcast because this is our paranormal community, and we want to support you here on RU Media Network. We are proud to be sponsored by the Haunted Hinsdale House in Hinsdale, New York. Here are your hosts, Brian Mersall and Sean Gilmore.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Podcast. Yay, live streaming. Guys, tonight we have an awesome show. We have some really cool guests, and we're going to learn a lot. All right? But everybody, say hi to my brother, co-host, partner, Brian Mersall.
How are you, Sean? yeah. Claps around, everyone. Thank you.
Golf clap.
Oh, man. I feel like we're all going crazy. And the beautiful thing about the paranormal field is that even when life's crazy, your career is crazy, everything's going on, you always have a beautiful community behind you. And it's just so nice to share this evening with you guys, and I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, man. We're going to learn a lot, man. Tonight, it's all about ITC. It's all about this technology that not too many people really talk a lot about outside of the ITC community. And the reason why I say that is because since I started working with Austin, I have learned so much. There's so much more than I ever could ever anticipated out of ITC, and it's really cool. So I'm like, you know what, we need to get this out there.
Yes, sir.
There's a whole nother side of this that I never knew. Like, I thought it was just like, hey, look at me, I have a hack radio and I might get a voice or something, right? And it's so much more than that. So yeah, see that they're all laughing at me because I busted out a hack radio. So and we're gonna get into that, right? So everybody, let's kind of go around. I mean, I consider myself probably the newest person in ITC right now, because I have a lot to learn. So I'm going to do a lot of listening today. I might, try and guide us the right way, like a show host should do. But I know I have a lot to learn, and I feel like Brian probably does too. This is going to be so much
Absolutely.
fun. Some of the greatest minds in ITC are here with us tonight, so we're going to take full advantage. So let's kind of like just go around. Ron, you're on top, so why don't we kind of work our way around, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, I mean, to start, I was hoping tonight that I would get to beat Tony Rathman, but it didn't turn out that way. That was on my bucket list. It's going to stay there, apparently. But yeah, I've been doing paranormal research for maybe 10 years. Specificity with ITC almost from the beginning. Direct radio voice as a very specific area of study in the last 3 years. I can't agree more with when you say the greatest mind in ITC. I'm not including myself, but in all honesty, Tony Rathman and Austin Maynard are two immense forces in ITC for bringing the educated perspective, bringing innovation, and really, and this is an important thing when you talk about contact fields and communication with spirit, is the resonance of positivity with the collective consciousness with the people in the field. And these are two people that I'm honored to work with and talk to all the time, because they are walking examples of how that should be done. Conducting yourself with your peers and with the people who are new, and then bridging the gap with the generations before us. So I'm grateful to be here and surrounded by these guys for sure.
Well, I'm Tony Rathman, and I've been heavily involved in ITC probably about the last 9 or 10 years. We started paranormal investigating almost 12 years ago. It'll be 12 years in February of 2022. But ITC definitely caught our attention when we started realizing when we very first bought the first SB7 Spirit box and realized that there were actual responses on there to the questions we were asking. We dove into how do we clean this up? How do we clear it up? How do we make it more audible? But let me say about the group that I'm on here with, and first of all, to Ron, When we were out there doing the EVPI 4-mansion tour, his work with DRV or direct radio voice, absolutely top-notch stuff. So do not ever sell yourself short, Ron. The DRV responses this man can acquire from and get, I was absolutely amazed at. And Austin Maynard, a well-known developer, he continues to create new projects which ITC has not seen before. So I am just as honored to be in the company of these gentlemen as well.
Awesome.
Ron has.
That's my Austin Maynard.
Well, I'm Austin Maynard. I the founder, the owner, whatever you want to call it, of the Underground Paranormal Network. Been doing investigations and everything for about 7 years. Really dove into ITC about 3 years ago. Started building since June, I think, is when I started building. So I don't really consider myself in the same class as a lot of these guys, but you know, I've been very appreciative of Ron's work that he's done, man. I don't, like Tony said, I don't think there's anybody better in the field in DRV. And Tony, I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know enough about your about your boxes to really even like. They're fascinating, and I know you use I know you use some kind of really intricate program, and I'm not sure how you do it, but they sound amazing. And I really, again, I still want to get one from you someday.
Sure. Thank you. I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, no, but these, I'm proud. I'm glad that Shawn decided to hop on board and try to learn some of this stuff. And I encourage everybody to do that because, I mean, what we see on the field or what we see on TV, what we see, 99% of the paranormal field doing is very basic, in my opinion. It's just very surface level stuff. It's almost like when you walk into a pool, you're in the shallow end at first, and then you go into the deep end, and you start finding these theories that are just like, okay, well, what if? I mean, if you can't discount it, then I mean, how could it be possible? And then that's when you really dive into like the different the frequencies, and I mean, frequencies are everything. Like frequencies are everything, and that's why I love ITC.
Yeah, I mean, see, for me, with ITC, what got me into it was about 2.5 years ago. Yeah, about 2.5 years ago, I went to Arizona. I went to Vulture City, and it was just like during the day. And I brought my hacked radio, and there was no radio reception. And honestly, at this point, I was a skeptic with ITC. And but then I went there. There was no radio reception, and I got a clear, intelligent response on this hacked radio. I was like, okay, so maybe there is something to this. And the more I kind of talked to more people, and also, let's be honest, in the paranormal community, our equipment has kind of gotten stagnant, right? It's a lot of the same. It's whether if it's a trigger object or trust me, I got a lot of those, or if it's static. I mean, there's so many. It's all the same. And so I'm kind of coming into ITC looking for something new. And you know what? It's happening. You have Austin coming out with new stuff like you guys had mentioned. And it's you guys, I think that ITC very well could be the next step that the paranormal research needs. I mean, the whole idea is gaining communication through spirit, right? And bridging that communication gap. And I mean, I'm an empath, but I'm not a psychic. I can't talk to spirit, and this is the doorway. This is the, I guess for lack of a better term, a telephone over to the other side, kind of.
Well, I would like to clarify real quick, though, that most people in the paranormal field already do different forms of ITC, EVPs, even the SB7, SB11 is, SB14. Even those are ITC. I mean, instrumental transcommunication. I mean, you could even, like if you are in front of a lake, you think it's a haunted area, you stay and you look at the water with the moon reflecting off of it and the ripples and everything, that is a form of ITC. I mean, ITC is such a broad term that it's not just limited to radio frequencies or anything like that.
Absolutely right.
That's a great point. The thing about ITC is that it uses a third-party device, and when you look at the breakdown of what determines ITC is even doing EVPs, that's a form of ITC because your digital recorder is the third-party device that you cannot control. Now, technically, yeah, you could shake it, scream into it. Yeah, you can alter it, but you can't manipulate what shows up on it. And that's the same thing for whether you're doing EVP on a digital recorder, whether you're using ITC with a spirit box, DRV, you don't have physical manipulation of what responses show up.
Yeah, and ITC in its origins coming from Europe, from a class of people whose work was initiated in EVP research, and then they took the EVP approach, the methodology, and adapted it to ITC using the white noise for audio support initially. But the term was only coined. EVP was existing from Konstantin Radové and from a way back. The term was coined, and I think it was 1994, by a physicist in Germany named Dr. Ernst Sinkowski, TCI in Europe, Transcommunication Instrumental. And he came up with the term not just for third-party instrument, but also to delineate the difference between when the device captures the vocal versus when the device facilitates it as a medium. And he wanted to make the difference between just recording it versus the device actually being the facilitator of it. And so that term's just since 1994. And there are variations of it. And to your original statement, too, while Austin will say that he's not in the class or whatever because he's not building that long, without people like him in the field, you don't have the advancements that you need to have because he's an innovator. He's looking at what's there, and he understands it, and he learns how it works, and he knows how to replicate it. Then he goes, but there's got to be more, and he starts pushing the boundaries. If you don't have innovation, you have stagnation. So I think that's important. And Tony's the same way with his Evox. He looks at what there is and what hasn't been done. What can I try? And every failure is a success because it's a step forward. It's a step in another direction.
So true, Ron. And, we don't know the variables that exist to create the communication. We don't know the variables about how they're hearing us, or, we can take educated guesses, but without trying new stuff on a regular basis, we'll never be able to understand those variables. And yes, when people like Austin are creating brand new things using different technology, different circuitry to see what happens, that's the only way we're going to push those boundaries.
I would also like to add, though, that ITC has, even though it may have not been called ITC, it has been around for years, decades. How far does it go back, Ron?
I mean, the original EVP work with Radové and stuff, I think, and Von Saleh, 1940s. But I mean, every recording device from magnetic wires, when priests were recording Gregorian chants, have caught anomalous voices. Friedrich Jürgensen was recording birdsong for a documentary. Right. Got his father calling him Friedel, which was his childhood nickname. So the phenomenon goes way back. Austin's spot on. Goes way back. And the reason came up with ITC in '94.
The reason I say that, though, is because Shawn did say the next step or something, and I wanted to just clarify, this isn't new. All of this has been around for a long time, so it's almost just been, I wouldn't even say hidden, because it's always been right there, but it's one of those paths that most people choose to ignore or not want to dive as deep into as people that are in this field that do the research. I think that we need to encourage everybody, whether you want to try to start building or you want to dive into the research, whatever. You really got to just take the first step. One of the first steps you could take is just I know that analyzing EVPs, analyzing these ghost box sessions, when you dive a little bit deeper into it, you start to realize the limitations of what you've been currently doing and how much more there is. The possibilities are almost endless, it seems.
True.
Yeah. Here, real quick, I just to clarify, what I meant by ITC is going to take the paranormal research to the next level. It's because ITC is the only area in the paranormal that I'm seeing new and different ideas coming from. In the other devices that we use. A lot of it is, like I said, a lot of the same thing, just repeated over and over again. It might look different. A REM pod designed to look like a teddy bear is still a REM pod. It just looks like a teddy bear. Is it great
Right.
that's a trigger object that's more inviting? I think so. I love it. But you know what? The 10 years I've been in the paranormal, it's the same thing that was here 10 years ago. So
Right.
that's kind of what I meant by the next. That's where it's going to get us in the paranormal research to that next level. Because
Yeah,
this is where it's coming.
the audible side of ITC is where there's so much more focus with innovation and progress, because certain things that happen that are experiences in the moment, like an EMF spike, so even though you can record those things, it's not the type of evidence you would call a PPO, a permanent paranormal object, where if you have an audio recording, not only are you establishing a dialogue or a direct communication with timing and relevance, but you have, as a PPO, you can re-examine that over and over and over again. You can present it over and over again. You can send it to your colleagues, let them examine it, get their take on it. And that lends itself to being methodology-wise scientific, analytic, and it lets you be critical with going over it, not just having something in the moment and then the moment's gone.
Man, wind us up and watch us go, huh?
That's a great point, Ron. The other great thing about whether it's EVP or Spirit Box or even DRV is that instead of just getting a light to trigger or some beeping or music to go off, you get so much more information from it. You've asked a question and you get a response. But before we even touch on what they said or what the response was, you have a ton of other information that comes through. You know whether it's an adult or a child. You know whether it's male or female. You know what language they're speaking, or if there's an accent or a specific dialogue they're using. So there is just a wealth of information before you even get to what answer they gave to your question. And to us, that's why we went down the EVP road and then into the ITC road, because you just can't match that against any other device.
Perfect. It's perfect.
Hats off to you.
Perfect.
So, next question.
So, next question. So, actually, Brian, is there anything about ITC that you have a specific that you've always kind of wondered or didn't understand? Because now it's time to ask you.
Yeah, sometimes new groups or existing groups might inherit certain devices like portals, for example, almost like a hand-me-down things, and they don't understand how to use them. There's so many knobs. I don't know what's going on. How does like a group that inherits, these kind of things, where do they go to learn about it or get some kind of advice?
These guys, you go to these guys right here. These guys, the guys who know, especially Austin and Tony, the guys who build stuff. The portal boxes, incidentally, it's an After Effects. It's something that cleans up, enhances, makes it more audible for real-time communication, which is the goal. But it's not the facilitator of the communication necessarily. The radio or whatever the device that's emitting and running frequency is what you're using.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point. The original portals were all based off of what Steve Huff did. And, regardless of what you think of him, his original portal did make a difference. It would take an SB7 or an SB11 and, the noise gate in it would help cut down that white noise sound. The reverb does add an essence to it that brings the spirit voices out. Why that occurs, I can't answer that. But can I tell you it does work? Yes, it does. But like Ron said, your real mechanism for that communication is from the SB7 that they usually attach those portals to, which is a little different than when you build a full spirit box, which includes all the circuitry and mechanisms to scan, do forward scanning, reverse scanning, the speed at which it scans. And that's the difference between a true spirit box and a portal, which is an enhancement to it.
Yeah.
And when you have all those knobs, I know how you're feeling there, Brian. Because when I first got into this, man, like one of the first boxes I got was from J.W. Prather. And it had like freaking 6-7 knobs on it. I was like, what the hell?
Another good builder, though. Another
The
good builder.
best. Oh, Jay is one of the best, man. But the thing that I found was the best way for me to learn it was to just sit down, turn it on, and try to figure out what each thing did. And that the way I did it was had turn everything down, turn one knob up, see where the volume was, obviously, and then just kind of take it from there, play around with each sound. I mean, you would have to spend some time with it really to learn how to tune yourself into it almost, because there is that user aspect of ghost box communication or portal communication or whatever. When you tune that box in to just the right sound where you guys like it, I mean, it almost seems like the communication just flows like water,
Yeah.
So with that being asked, what's the difference between, we already talked about the Huff style box with the
Portal.
Right, the portal. Sorry. So what's the difference between the portal, a hack, and a spirit box, like something Austin and you guys build? And so what's the difference between the different devices? Like, how can someone do the research to decide, what's the right device for me?
Austin's is better. That's the first thing I'm going to say. Austin's is better. Well, the portal's an add-on, like we were saying. The portal's not the device itself. I think there's a certain aspect, like Austin said, the operator. In the study of consciousness, Rupert Sheldrake from the Society of Psychical Research would say that what was called morphogenic fields, which is the collective consciousness, it's a global thing, it's a communal thing for the people in the room who are doing the session. The operator is part of the process, like Austin says, no question about it. We are all energy, everything's energy, so we factor in for sure. I think if you resonate with a box, all jokes aside, I keep plugging it. I love this thing. And I've gotten good stuff from this thing. So I think it's a combination of his brilliance as a builder, and it has to do with my intent and passion as an operator. And that's the fusion of which I put out to try to get stuff that is evidence from the box. But no question that the operator and that intent is part of it. Dr. Anabel Cardoso in Spain had 3 different radios she would run for direct radio. And she asked Spirit one time, why do you mostly come through this one? And they said, because that's your favorite.
Okay.
I think, when it comes to the differences, really, the way I classify it is more or less like when I think of a spirit box, I think of the SB7, the SB11, the S box, like things that were built and coded specifically to sweep forward or backwards. When I think of a ghost box, I think of like boutique, custom built, hand soldered, everything like that. Kind of like what I do, Jay, KD. Steve and Katie Hultay. I mean, these guys, I think that build actually puts the energy, there's an energy transfer there when the builder actually builds their boxes. I know Tony does. Do you do more coding, or do you do, like, I don't know exactly what, I'm still trying to figure out, but I like your boxes, man. You need to tell me something. How does it work exactly?
Well, we've kept a lot of what's in the Evox secret only because it's still in testing phase. I mean, we've been using it now over the last year, and it's done some amazing things. But basically, it's a combination of circuits that does a couple of things. One, there's static available for spirits to use, but it's not heard. The box is completely silent except for when they speak. 2, it expands the radio station dial. It goes way above 107.9. It goes way below 88.6 or whatever it is. It skips known radio stations. So like 101.5, which is probably used across the country, it'll skip it because it knows it's transmitted. That takes out your commercials, your McDonald's commercials, your gas station ads. It'll skip right by known stations. So it
actually like detects those channels and will basically eliminate them from the suite.
They're programmed in so that it goes right by them.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It is.
Okay.
And we saw
that stuff is just like, that's amazing stuff, because I mean, like, especially the white noise circuit that you add in there, because when most people think of a white noise circuit, you think of the SB7, that little chip that they put in there that makes it
and why they did that, I don't understand. I mean, I understand the thought process was it was needed, but it's an add-on. So if if you were using it prior, why would you add that headache? Now, there are many paranormal investigators who said without that, it'll never work. Well, over the years, I've seen ones that didn't have that and did work. Apps don't have that. They do work. It took me years to get one to work, but finally I built my own and it did. But you got to keep testing. And so we got rid of it. It's there. It's available for them to use, but I don't want to hear it. And so that's why our Evox we love, because it is crystal clear.
And you're still adding those frequencies in there, regardless of whether they're audible through the speaker or not.
Correct.
They're still there for them.
They're still available for use, but only once they've been manipulated. Then that's what comes through.
But that's brilliant, though. That's brilliant, Tony, because radio is flying past our heads right now, but without something modulating it down, we don't hear it. So to say that you need to hear the noise disruptively, otherwise it doesn't work, is absurd. And to testify, you mentioned the 4-mansion tour we did with EVPI when you and Cherie came out east. You brought the predecessor to the Evox, which we call the Prevox, and you ran it, and it did run silent, and it was phenomenal. It definitely worked, and it was impressive. The results were impressive. So, so that's I 100% say that works.
Thank you. You know, one of the biggest hurdles in doing anything within the paranormal is always the people who are on the skeptical side. There's nothing wrong with being skeptical. I mean, and if you are, great. And even as an investigator, you still want to keep a level of skepticism so that you're evaluating everything appropriately. But the one thing that, you know, having done this for the last decade, is that when people are like, oh, you know, they're using broken radios. Okay, first of all, what I'm receiving isn't radio. Secondly, it's not broken. When I'm getting my first and last name responded to me, it's working, and it's working exactly how I want it to. So, you know, and then when I turn around to those people and say, okay, well, how many do you own? How long have you tested them? Well, I don't use that. It doesn't work. Well, you know, paranormal is a bunch of variables we don't know. And unless you can put in the time, test it effectively, and decide for yourself, I don't think it's fair to say that.
Yeah. A lot, and there's a difference between skepticism or a skeptic. Most of the people who call themselves skeptic of the paranormal are not skeptic. A skeptic, by definition, this is definition, is somebody who seeks absolution and truth. They want to know the truth. They're not buying into everything, but they want to see the truth, and they will go over it and over and over it until there is some kind of result or it remains anomalous. When somebody says nothing is paranormal, that stuff is not possible, that's a belief system. That's a paradigm. So they are believers as much as the people who think everything's paranormal, the ones that they mock. So they're just two opposing paradigms that don't jive, but they use skeptic because societally and sociologically, the term skeptic has this educated, well-to-do, I speak well kind of, but that's not what it is. The role is skeptic is truth. If you say none of this is real, you're a believer. Come to terms with it.
Amen. Yeah, it's one of those, a skeptic is somebody who asks questions. If you don't have questions about everything you see, or you don't want to look like, if you either just don't accept it, you're a non-believer. But if you have questions, then you're a skeptic. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I see it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's hard for people to digest what we do, especially the general public, right? What is it? Arthur C. Clarke said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And so we have devices, radios that are built on scientific principles that are producing results that are in defiance of those same scientific principles. It's very hard for people to get their heads around that. But you spend an hour with Tony Rathman or Austin Maynard or Tim Woolworth or the Hultays or the Staffords or the Prathers, and you can't say that there's nothing to this because the evidence is so vast just amongst those people I named that it's overwhelming. It's more evidence than there ever was for the id, ego, superego, but scientifically that stuff is completely okay. We accept it.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Ron. And, a lot of normal individuals are breaking ground that hopefully science will one day be able to take what's being caught and catch up to maybe explain and identify some of the things we're doing. Now, why isn't science doing that today? Well, there's no money in it, so no one's paying scientists to do it. There's no money to be made from it because, even if they do come up with the answers, you're not going to know it until you're dead anyway. So But hopefully what people in ITC are doing is pushing those boundaries and making some people in the science world really think about what's being captured. And if you look at evidence, maybe not just from one ITC person, but the entire group, and look at those consistencies that happen time after time after time, and realize that although it's not set in a lab and can't be reproduced 3 sets of 3 times to have science say, okay, yeah, that's legit, it is being reproduced consistently. And then hopefully one day science will be able to come back and say, okay, you know what? We realize this is happening. Here's what we think, how it's occurring. I mean, hundreds of years ago, lunar eclipses were considered paranormal. Well, science has explained it. It's no longer considered paranormal today. Hopefully one day science will catch up and be able to say, you know what, this is occurring and here's how we think how.
The one thing we can't do is, and the outside world does this a lot, science is not one guy. It's like if you see a subject in school called sex ed, it's not one guy who's getting really lucky, okay? It's a subject matter. So science isn't one guy. There are scientists. Ernst & Kowski, who coined ITC, is a physicist. There are biologists, astrophysicists, engineers. There are tons of people who are scientifically backed who do this stuff. Our society has elevated science to this oracle level of being infallible and having all the answers that are reliable and dependable. But I would say that what Tony mentioned before is even more important, that you have people like Austin and Jay and the Stafford. You have people like this who are producing the same results with the same methodologies over and over and over and over again. Science itself has theory and anecdote, which is fluid like definition. But if you look at the data that's being collected by all these ITC researchers, you have the same characteristics to the data. When you have similarities in data, you have reliability of data, you have more stability of data. So I would say the field of ITC is leading science in proving that there's something to this, more so than anything. And then the last thing I'll say, and then I'll shut up, is the thing with the threes drives me crazy. First of all, Marcello Bacci with direct radio and a vacuum tube radio did reproduce his results in an RF signal shielded lab. He did it in threes. They took vacuum tubes out, which pre-transistor is how they worked. He still got anomalous voices. The threes rule for scientific repetition is not applicable to what we do, and here's why. You're saying that you have to do it in the same condition to repeat it 3 times in a row. So let's say that I take my electronic device that works on an electromagnetic signal, and I call my dad 10 times today. He picks up the phone 1 time. By that standard, my father doesn't exist. Right. Because I have a 90% fail rate, and I only got him 1 out of 9 times. I didn't do it 3 times in a row. So it's not applicable to what we do. It's like the Einstein thing. If you judge a fish by its ability to climb, it thinks it's stupid for its whole life. So there needs to be a reassessment of how we authenticate and validate what we're doing, because of the evidence just with the 2 people sitting below me on the screen alone is staggering.
Yeah, excellent point. Plus, science is based on our 3D world that we live in, and the paranormal goes far beyond the 3D world into variables we can't even explain or understand yet. So by that method, the scientific method doesn't even apply.
Very true. Greg Koss has a good question that he wanted to make sure that we asked. So, here, I didn't know if Brian was going to, but okay. So, we've been doing a lot of S days and DBL S days and a few DBLs on doubles.
Yeah, we've been doing SDs and double SDs.
More about reading shorthand. So,
and
sorry.
A few doubles on both the Spirit Box and the S Box. We've been picking up above the white noise what we consider space noise. Any ideas?
Well, that's a real interesting question. Let me throw something out towards that. We know that we are communicating with a consciousness that is not bodied, human bodied, or standing in front of us. Yet we'll ask a question and we'll get a response. Then the next question that comes from the process is, do we know who's responding? The answer to that is no, we don't. Do we know whether it's spirits, entities, ghosts, whatever terminology you want to use? Do we know if it's extraterrestrial? Do we know if it's multidimensional? The fact of the matter is we don't. Ron and I were having a discussion just probably less than a month ago about those strange noises that seem to appear. They can appear during EVPs. They can appear during spirit box responses. We've heard them on the DRV responses. Where are those noises coming from and what are they? That's a great question. Could they be atmospheric conditions? Could they be some sort of EMF electrical energy responding from where the responses are coming from? The fact of the matter is they have been heard. We've heard them many times and went, wow, what is that? What the exact answer is, we don't know because we don't have the variables in place to even know who's responding.
I would like to add in there too. I mean, if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, actually, I know that Tesla thought he was talking to interdimensional beings, right?
Correct.
And then Edison thought he was talking to aliens.
Right.
Or was it the opposite? I can't remember.
It might have been the opposite, but for sure they both believed that was happening.
So like they didn't even believe that they were talking to dead, spirits. They thought they were actually intelligently communicating with otherworldly or other dimensionally beings.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep. That is true.
And the fact that all of ITC is based on consciousness energy. And the real question, which has been in debate for paranormal investigators, is when the body dies, does the consciousness then become part of the universe, or does the consciousness itself create the universe that we call it? And it's that conflict of wondering which one, whether the consciousness returns to the universe or whether the consciousness itself creates what we call the universe. We can't answer those questions yet. So what you're picking up and what responses you're getting, we don't have those answers yet, but someday, hopefully.
Right. And you can't say, two people will say that the consciousness or the soul and all that stuff doesn't exist, that it's just a byproduct of the brain. But if energy can't be created or destroyed, then the brain as an organ can't create that energy, nor can it destroy it when the physical body dies.
Right. It can only change form. Correct.
Right. And then the paradigm question too with consciousness is that they say that if a question can be born, then the answer therefore already exists. So it's an interesting perspective. If you look at what we're trying to do to advance, right? If you take the concept of somebody traveling in a car or a train, right? What they want to see unfold, the landscape in front of them, that's not being manifested by the desire of the operator or the person. But what is happening is it's being revealed to them through progress. It already exists, but through progression and forward movement, that becomes revealed to them. So in consciousness study, they believe that. So I think that discovery, more so than even invention, is an integral part of what we're doing.
Agreed.
I mean, I could even add on there that, I've been reading up on some of these articles recently in the scientific communities. And one thing that some scientists are actually proposing is that the entire universe is just a hologram. Like it is exactly as it's a hologram that's being created as a commonality between all conscious beings in the universe. Like it's all just one common perspective, but it's viewed in different aspects. And so they believe that like everything is just like this flat model. That's the way that they talked about it. It was just it was crazy to me. But then I've also seen going back to the consciousness, when I like to get into the astral projection. Like I really started looking into this because there are people that are lucid dreamers that, are able to, or they claim to be able to travel to different areas. They can, they like fly and they can go wherever they want. But apparently scientists have successfully, and I hope somebody else has read about this too, but they've been able to successfully communicate remotely with lucid dreamers.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a professor, Dr. Charles Tart from UC Berkeley, who did a study.
Can I just interrupt you one quick second? Sorry, not to interrupt, but I have to jump off. I want to say thank you for having me on, letting me speak. You guys enjoy the rest of the show, and thank you very much.
That time went really fast. Tony, real quick, I know you got to go. Can you just real quick plug, how can people find your work? How can people buy one of your boxes?
Some of the easiest places are our website, which is www.entityvoices.com. We've got Facebook pages under Entity Voices, under Tony Rathman, YouTube channel under Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations. There's almost 350 some videos up there, from investigations to boxes we've built and demonstrations of them with them. But those are the easiest places to find us.
And great stuff.
Old Phelps Dodge Hospital too. Check that out.
Yeah, we lost that. That sold, but that was an awesome place, which, by the way, is on Destination Fear this Saturday. So check it out. It's going to be a great episode. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tony. It's been an honor.
Love you, TR. Yeah,
Dude,
we were supposed to go out.
Crushed my world.
We were supposed to go out. Lourdes and I were supposed to go out to Phelps Dodge to the research center with Tony and Cherie to do it. When they did the EVPI tour and they came to the Northeast, we did that because we were 2 weeks from buying our plane tickets, and he said the place got sold. I was like, what? So I never got to go there either.
Do they know like who bought it? Like, I mean, not
A realtor.
not
A realtor
like
sold it. It's supposed to be a hotel or something, I think.
so they're actually gonna fix it up. They're not gonna tear it down.
No, they're going to turn it into something. I may tear it down and rebuild on the land, but they're going to make it a hotel. So it's going to be a Motel 666.
Oh, hey.
I mean, I
That's
guess I
right
can,
up your alley.
I can live with that. I guess.
Right.
It'd be all paranormal people booking the rooms now.
Right.
Kind of like they're doing at the top floor of Waverly, right?
Yeah,
Or something. Is that right? Is that what they're doing?
I think. Yeah, I'm not familiar, but I heard something about it from somebody like maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I've heard several things, like people just saying like, oh yeah, they're trying to renovate it and make it like a B&B where you could stay and basically sleep in the Waverly Hills Sanatorium.
That's not bad.
That's just
that
what
has
I've
kind
heard.
of like become a thing though, where in the past, I don't know, probably 5 years, right? Where it's like the thing to do is to sleep at the location.
Oh, man,
Yeah, I mean-
I've been doing that for since I started at the St. Amsville Rectory in Cincinnati. We stayed the night there.
Yeah, I have a cot purposely, so if I can stay at the place, you get to investigate longer hours. You know, I don't want to be at a Comfort Inn when I could be running stuff somewhere else.
Right.
Mhm.
Ryan, it's okay. Sean's been living under a rock.
No, it's become more of a
I was just
fad,
playing.
right? There's some there, you know.
It is.
I
It's
mean-
increasing in popularity for sure.
Yeah.
Like you see more and more places. Like, yeah, I do. Like, I mean, and it's awesome that these historic places around the country are being, being opened back up, being saved, and being available for the paranormal community, and people can see the benefits of, obviously, the benefits of the paranormal community, like tourism. I mean, tourism brings in a lot of money to the local economy if it can get back up. And I mean, if you're able to market it right and you're able to show the amount of haunting that it could be, I don't know how to, measure that, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like if they are able to do that, you get enough people in there that produce evidence. I mean, that brings a lot of money to the town, but like people, and I'm glad to see it, but I just hope that it doesn't get too saturated. I mean, at the same time, I mean, eventually it's going to be like if every 2 blocks there's a haunted location, you know what I mean? And it seems like it's just going to be too much. But spirits are everywhere, though. I don't think it matters where you're at. You could be out in the middle of nowhere and make contact.
Yeah,
That's right. Yep. I always say that you can't declare a location haunted just by the fact that you get anomalous voices, because you can get them anywhere. You need more criteria to label a location itself haunted. To circle back to Dawson's thing on consciousness, because first of all, I love the fact that somebody like him, who's a builder, is looking into all these different aspects of what's tied into ITC, because of the more understanding he has, that's where his innovation comes from. He's trying to access and tap into these other possibilities, and education of self is how you do that. So that's why he's one of my favorite people in the field, because he's a groundbreaker. Know that now. He's humble and he'll always be grounded, and that's awesome. But he's not. You're not pedestrian by any level. So you're on your way up. Trust me.
We have here, Peggy Goodall. She wants to know, for those boxes that don't weed out the radio stations, how do you determine what's true communication and what's a radio station breaking through?
Speed speed of the radio. Turn that speed way up so there isn't even a full word that comes through at all.
Yep.
And then when one breaks through, then it's like interesting. Maybe it's significant, but that's up to the user, obviously, to decide. But then you could also get the community, and I've seen it a million times where you have it so fast, like it's just a whole bunch of blips and bloops, just like from just the different phonemes and allophones from the words, you know. So it's like, and they will actually, I call it jitter actually, and they will use that in theory to form the words, almost like if they had Lego, put them together. And so, like, I mean, there's a video I shot a while back. I'm pretty sure Shawn's seen it, where I had a Hultay, where I had a Steve's RCA box, and I had that speed cranked way. Have you seen that video, Ron?
Yes, I have.
So you were talking about accent. Tony was talking about accents. Like that is one of the craziest videos. I mean, I didn't hear it in the moment. And honestly, when you watch the video, it's like I don't even I'm way off on my interpretations, and I'm not even gonna lie about it. But when I go back, I mean, this dude talks in like almost as a very sophisticated accent in the basement of the precinct. But it's using the jitter to form these words, and that I honestly, and I'm gonna promise you this, Ron, I did not even touch the audio of that video.
No, I believe that video is
as it was and just dubbed it. Where
that video, it's ridiculous how good that is. It really is. And Lourdes Gonzalez, my partner, just commented too, and that's the two governing things for me. Any audible evidence is timing and relevance. If I say what's in my hand, ghost box, direct radio, whatever, and it says mouse, the odds of that coming through any device, a barren, empty white noise frequency like direct radio or a sweeping ghost box, the odds of that coming through are astronomical. If that's a radio station, then I want to know when they're giving away cash and prizes, because my luck is phenomenal.
Nice. Yeah, that's when I was getting the responses at the Monroe house. I had to speed up really fast, and we were getting, Brian heard it. We were getting responses, and
it's almost like you don't even because it's obviously not a blatant, loud out word sometimes.
You know what they were calling this radio? What? On Ghost Hunt on Saturday? They called it what they call it a souped up spirit box. Is that what they called it, Brian?
Yeah,
they called it a souped up spirit box. So, but
I call it a ghost box.
It's a ghost box. Yeah, the builders call it ghost boxes. The consumer level is a spirit box, and I have both. But yeah, that's a ghost box.
Growing number of people are starting to recognize the difference, though. Ron.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
The more people that get to know about it, you know, I mean, it's just it's weird. Like, honestly, like, I was surprised to learn that there's a spiritual side of using the box. I just thought, like, you turn on a box and like the boom, you know, like, honestly, like the time I used my hacks was mostly like if I was doing a public ghost hunt and I had to like perform and had to get like something quick and easy, and it did that, and I really didn't understand what exactly it was. I mean, the reason why it worked so well for me in that situation is the hack is just sweeping slowly through the stations, right? So it sounded cool, and so it made it easy for me to entertain. With this, I'm actually getting something, and I mean with the hack, it's for me to get something on this or any hack, I have to be somewhere where there's absolutely no radio reception for me to be okay with it. And it's just like so much. It's just so cool to learn how much really does go into ITC and these spirit boxes and the ghost boxes and all of that. Because like I said, I had no clue there's a spiritual side of it. I thought it was like disconnected to spiritualism.
Dude, that's the thing is that like the other builders in this field, like for instance, KD, you know, Katie just distracted me with that comment. I think I don't know. I invited her and I don't know. Anyways,
I sent the link to Steve.
Yeah, and I told her And I don't think she thinks that she didn't get an invitation. And yes, Katie,
Oh no, he definitely.
I definitely invited you.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to my point. Yeah, so each builder, is trying to use a different aspect of they all use a different kind of sweep circuit, a different kind of aspect on how they, create these boxes to communicate. And obviously, like, I'm at bottom level, guys. Like, seriously, don't stop listening to this dude. I don't want to run. I've been building since June, dude. Like, I have not gone through the level of trial and tribulations that guys like Jay, who've been in it since 2004, actually like 2009 or 10 or something. Steve, who's been in it since 2006. Like, these guys have been through more failures and the burnt fingers and all the frustration, the amounts of money spent on circuits they fried. Like, I just don't even want to be on the same level with those guys yet. Like, I'm not there, so stop. But the thing, like Jay Prather, for instance, his direct links, the one thing that he really likes to add to the direct link is the fact that you are using your body as an antenna every time you make that contact with the back of the where the antenna jack is. You make that contact and you get the signal.
Dude, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm so excited to get mine. Like, dude, so excited.
You're getting one. You're on the list.
I'm on the list, dude.
On the never-ending list.
Never-ending list. Hey, man, if I could wait a year for a deadlight, I think I can wait however long for this link, dude.
But anyway, continuing. But like the thing I love about each of these guys, like, it's all something that KD. By the way, KD is probably one of the craziest minds in the field. Like, this dude, you think I'm innovative? Like, this dude is like 10 times, 100 times where I'm at. Like, he thinks on another level. Like, he's the one that created the ghost helmet. Like, I'm not even, like, I never even figured that the ghost helmet could be used with ITC. But it's crazy when you wear the helmet and you turn on a ghost box and you make that connection. It's kind of a crazy experience. But he's also taking aspects of that to another level, as well as Jay, obviously, creating so many options, creating so many ways to experiment. It's just mind-blowing sometimes, the things that these guys come up with. And then Steve and Katie, Steve, I tell Steve he's like the Simpsons, man. Everything he's done everything everything that anybody does is gonna mimic him at some point, and it's very well true. But these guys have been inspirations in the field. Katie as well. Katie's coming up with things like forward, reverse, random, linear, AM, FM. She's like mixing all these different things into the same box and adding all these options. A lot of what Steve has, come up with in the past, and kind of adding them into these things. And it's really, there's a lot of great work that's being done in the field, and each builder will add their spiritual energy. Every box, they might burn themselves. They might, there's all kinds of different aspects that as they're doing it, hand soldering it, that focus, that energy, whatever, it's transferred into each and every box. And if they're in a bad mood while they're building the box, I'm personally believe that it's not going to work as well.
Yeah.
Energy is not going to be conducive to making the box work. But if they have good energy and they're really focused on it, then it's going to be a good box,
Yeah, and I've actually been working on like an SP7 here, and if you just...
It says in my new book,
the doors kept opening.
You should trust your instincts.
Go for it.
This is crazy, isn't it?
This is a camera.
I
don't mess with any of this stuff. It is the Into the Abyss section of the podcast where we ask you 13 fast fire questions and you get to answer them as quickly and as thoroughly as possible. It's basically the magic, that kind of spiritual connection that we have with the ITC devices. That's the kind of magic and spirituality that we're going to have with these questions and answers. So, Ron, are you ready, my friend?
I hope so. I've had one Red Bull.
I honestly saw you drinking something and I almost put it in the question, so I'm glad I didn't. All right.
All eyes on you, brother.
Uh-oh.
I know Shawn liked that camera. I'm not messing. Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I have my mic muted and it's not working. Sorry.
Oh, well, we can hear you now.
That's good.
All right, I'll give you number 1 and number 13 as reference again. Answer it as quickly but as thoroughly as possible. So number 1, why is consciousness so important in the ITC field?
Because we believe as a high candidate, since we don't 100% know, that's what we're communicating with. There have been studies in science where I was mentioning before, Dr. Charles Tart had somebody doing an out-of-body experience. He put a piece of paper facing a ceiling. They were able to read it and come back with the answer while they were physically secured down in a lab in a bed where they could not get up. There have been other researchers. I think Tim Woolworth had a friend come through on a session who wasn't dead, and he voice print matched the vocal to the person that he knew. So if we're of a consciousness, then it is possible that when we pass on that energy, other dimensions and realms that coexist, that it's a very high candidate for what we're communicating with. So that's why I think consciousness is important. It's the number one suspect, if you want to put it that way.
What's the most obscure location you've got an ITC activity at?
Most obscure? That would be a toss-up between my house. I've gotten some crazy stuff in my house. We were setting up to do a direct radio voice session one time, which is just a barren, empty white noise frequency. Got halfway to the kitchen just to get a beverage, and a vocal very clearly came out of the radio and said, "You're leaving?" So that was odd.
A lot of beautiful experiences, when you're in the ITC field. How do you describe the amazing experiences, such as Ron, its mom? How do you describe those experiences?
It's got a level of gratification. There's a calmingness to it. As a researcher, I can't say definitively that I know it's my mother. She passed in January 2019. I've had a few different instances where stuff came through where what was said, the context of what was said, was very indicative of her. So it's meaningful because I think if you look at early ITC, when Marcello Bacci would do weekly sittings in Grosseto, Italy, his audience of unknowns every week were parents who lost children at a very young age, and he didn't take a dime for it. He was never caught tricking anybody with anything. He was thoroughly investigated. His whole purpose was to soothe and provide some kind of solace for the grieving. So I think that's a huge part of that.
Why is it so important to advance the ITC field in terms of how would I want to put it? Innovation.
It's important because I think if you look at the broad spectrum of life's greatest questions, what's next, what happens when we die, has got to be at the top of most people's list, even if not on a cognizant level where they're talking about it. But everybody kind of wonders. And everybody has a belief system in place based on that because none of us really know till you get there. So I think when you can dialogue with somebody who is not physically present, who you have no idea without broadcasting how they're even hearing you, and you get a timed and relevant response, that is, by classification, definition, and circumstantially, staggering. It's not, theoretically, should not be possible. And so I think that again, to go to the Arthur C. Clarke thing, it's indistinguishable from magic. We don't know how it's happening. And you watch a magician, you go, hey, how does he do that? So that's what we're trying to figure out.
Okay. And so I guess like a follow-up of that, like if you look at the ITC like experiences that we're having as like a formula with a bunch of variables that are unknown, and there are presumably a few unknown variables when you look at it in like a macro sense. If you could, bribe the dealer or something, or just get a little secret, if you could lift the veil off of one of those variables that we don't quite know yet, what variable would that be?
Something for sustainable and consistent contact. There's a brevity to communication when you get it, especially through ghost boxes, I think, where you get a certain amount of words or sentences. If you look at early ITC with direct radio, Marcello Bacci was having dialogues like we were having at the beginning of the show and right now. So I think to find a way to not have the connection severed or have it being truncated in parts, but have real-time dialogue would be huge. And it's difficult because you're talking about temporal synchronization. You have transmission and reception that are not in the same line of sight or plane of existence, theoretically. So we don't know or control half of the contact. So there may be energies and other things on the other side that we can't control. So if I could hit one of them, it would be something that would tell me how to further sustain the longevity when contact is made.
Okay. Now, when some people get into the paranormal field, they're like, ooh, I hear some footsteps, and it's pretty darn basic. But for someone who's been in the field for a while, how do you elaborate on the complete blend of philosophy, psychology, and paranormal?
Well, first of all, there's definitely a blend. For sure, there's a philosophical side to it. There's definitely a scientific side of it. I love the term, and I use this for my lectures from Dr. Annabelle Cardoso used the term ITC, the invisible art, because I believe there's an art form to it. The scientific and technical aspect of it is more scientific, and in science, those principles and theories that we are applying and that are constants in our realm are pretty consistent across the board for everybody. But the aspect of the art side of it is the individual side. It is our energy. It is our intent, and we achieve happiness when we achieve growth, because growth is progress and life is a growth process.
Okay. Now, you just woke up and you left room 666 of that whatever hotel, or the hotel 666 or whatever motel. And, well, I guess not motel. It'd be hotel, because you're in the elevator and stops at a floor that's right before the lobby, and someone gets in and they go, Ron, oh my gosh. I'm actually... I just started a new team. We have $500 allocated for equipment. We don't have any equipment. Ron, how would you advise me to allocate these funds? I've got $500, brand new group of 10 people. We're looking for some equipment. What should we get with this first initial $500?
For a brand new out of the gate investigator, I would say get a decent digital recorder, get a really good set of headphones.
What?
If you wanted to, you could throw a little bit more money towards a ghost box for sure. Because I'm an ITC person, so
right now you picked actually really good timing, so you're good.
So I would say that a good recorder, a good set of headphones, and if you have the money you want to throw out there, I would get a ghost box.
So it's just one ghost box, right?
I mean, just to start out. I mean, if you got $500. Yeah, I would say, depending on how much it is, I would say one is good just to start. I mean, when you get out of the gate, the abundance of equipment is not the first step into the field. It is more learning the practices, procedures, and protocols, I think, than it is just loading up on gear.
I like that a lot. Top 3 people to quote to add validity to ITC.
Top 3 people to quote. I'm hard pressed to come up with exact quotes from them. I would say for sure I like Hans Otto Koenig from Germany. He created a few different devices, a UDS device. He had something called the generator. It was inspired by the William O'Neill Spiricom model, whether you believe that was legit or not. His quote was in trying to explain the contact of temporal synchronization, like I was saying, transmission, reception, different realms. He likened it to being in a vehicle at high speeds on a highway, rolling the window down and trying to hold hands with somebody and then sustain that. It's very difficult to do, and that's why we have communication breakdowns when we're trying to do what we're doing. Yeah. Otherwise, and ITC, I mean, I like the Dr. Annabella Cardoso quote where she said that the spirits told her they come through a specific radio because it's her favorite. I like that. And then just in general, I don't know about any other quotes necessarily, but I just I love the history, and I love the people who started it, especially in Europe with direct radio. I think the results were staggering.
Yeah. No. Someone who loves you is Harvard because they want you to write an article on the paranormal. What would the title of that article be, and what would be unique about it?
Well, let's see the title. I mean, I just finished, and I have a book that's hopefully coming out in the coming year called Paranormally Speaking, Knowingly Talking to the Unknown. Austin contributed to the book. I asked a handful of the best ITC people I think out there to contribute to it. So I would go with something like that, maybe ITC, The Invisible Art. And I think it would be a little bit technical, a little bit philosophical, and a little bit spiritual with regards to, consciousness and energies and stuff like that, because I think that there's a combination of all those things that are in play, and to what degree we're not sure. And on the other side of the veil, we really don't know if there's energies at play that we don't even have access to. We don't know how it is they're hearing us, fusing with our devices to come through. So it would ask as many questions or more than it answered, probably, because the thought provoking is, I think, the way forward.
Okay. Now, to take you back to the elevator, the group said, "Look, Ron, I love your recommendations, but listen here. We at least got to get one ghost hunting app on our phone. What ghost hunting app on their phone would you recommend?"
I have been witness to sessions where people have used Echovox, and I've heard some pretty interesting things come out of it. Phasmabox and Echovox. Phasmabox is a Windows app. Echovox, of course, I think is on Android and on iOS. I've heard them work, and if people are suspicious of apps because there's a programming factor to it, because there's a microphone could be recording you. I think you got to use discernment when you do something like that. If I ask a question, I won't include the answer in the question. I won't say, "What's on my face? Can you see my glasses?" I'll just say, "What's on my face?" So if there is a microphone recording me, it can't spit that word back out to me. And then if I get it, it's more anomalous. But some of the greatest ITC captures in all time, the Harsh Fishbacks in Luxembourg, Mark Macy, they've gotten stuff on unnetworked computers, fax machines, vacuum tube radios. So I don't think that apps can't work because it's an electronic device. I think it's understanding how the thing works so you can rule out false positives is important.
How would you describe the afterlife?
The afterlife. So it's interesting because I find that there's a common blending of, or synonymous use of, life after death and the afterlife. And I think life after death is indicative of the continuation of us, our continuance, our life force going on. The afterlife is more indicative of a location or a destination of where our luminous essence goes when we pass on. So I would say the afterlife is wherever the realm of existence or wherever our energy goes to when it leaves this corporeal state.
Okay. Now, if you had to guess, what's the statistical odds of you communicating with like the dead/spirit or something that's extraterrestrial, different dimension, etc.? So like if it had to be split into two, the statistical odds that we're communicating with the dead/spirits versus something that's extraterrestrial or other dimension and whatnot.
I would say with how much we're actually able to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, I would still say 50-50. I think it's empirical experience that you use to generate a belief on which one you would lean more into. With that, I would lean more towards spiritual interdimensional. But can I say that it's more that than extraterrestrial? No. With any level of certainty, I could not. I can't substantiate it, even if I claimed it.
And lastly, number 13, what is the one message you have for your paranormal community?
Support each other, watch each other, learn from each other. And some of the people that Austin named, the Staffords, the Prathers, the Hultays, the people who are not only breaking ground, trying to break ground, doing the unheard of. Don't ridicule, don't criticize, don't judge other people's evidence and methodologies. If it's working for them. It is a perpetual state of education that we're in, and I don't think there's any positivity to putting anything else out there. You hold yourself to a standard, right? So if you don't agree with somebody's method, you don't use it. You don't watch it. You have every right to do that, to not agree. But in a collective consciousness mindset, in a morphogenic field where we are all part of the greater good and the whole existence of energies, you're putting something into the same thing you are a part of. So it's tantamount to peeing in the community pool while you're in it.
That is a good
like that analogy.
That was good, man.
I like that analogy.
I love the people. You know what? And Austin, in all fairness to you, I understand the Staffords and the Pratherds, and the Hultays. These people are incredibly genius. They're brilliant. They are pushing the field. Without them, we would not have what we have. Could not agree more. When I compliment you, it's because you have an innovative spirit and a drive and a passion for this that is not common. Not everybody who does ITC or does paranormal stuff has. And you have, in my opinion, you have promise to be in that category, to be at that level. I see that in you. That's my opinion. Could I be wrong? Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Brian. Do you have that box that you built me?
I appreciate that, Ron. I really do. I appreciate you.
That's my opinion. And I think, one of the things I love about you is you're humble. You're humble. You know, yes, you've been building for a short time, but what you've done in a short time, I think, is impressive. I bought just for people to watch. I bought one of his boxes. I love it. It works. It works good. It sounds good. And I see the stuff that he's doing. I see the stuff when he shares his videos and stuff. One of the things for the people doing this, as soon as you realize that this field is not all about you, it's about us. This field is not great because I'm in it. I'm in it because it's great. And as soon as you understand that, you are contributing and learning, and you're a part of a bigger thing. So I applaud you because you are a force for unity. You try to bring people together. You try not to have drama. You're interacting in a way with the community that's positive in an infectious way, and that's more important than the work. Because if we're fighting amongst ourselves, how are we ever going to influence outside the community?
Amen.
I appreciate that, Ron, and I agree with you. I really do. I would say the same back to you because you are always very. I've never heard you say a bad thing about anybody, like ever, and I've never actually even caught you in a bad mood. I don't think you're always like real positive about everything. I love your positive energy, man. You're very supportive, and you do great work with the DRV. I mean, I can't even that's why I have you in on the ITC Voices project, is because I know that you are a dedicated man with the DRV, and I know that you're dedicated to adding that aspect into a public platform. That what's up?
Do you have that box that you built me, the black gold?
Oh, the obsidian gold. Yeah, I got it over here. Hold on.
I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's really cool. It brings my spiritual. I call it my spiritual aspect because I'm still new to ITC, and it's just like it's really cool what he did here.
I'm pretty sure I've seen this.
Right? I have seen. You know what? Just to point something out too, Austin, too, that earlier ITC, when Mark Macy was really involved, he had a group called Elite, and it was a group of the elite supporting each other, and that's what I love, that you do that. You bring people together.
100%, he does. See that? So he put a black obsidian scrying mirror on top of a mirror that's in all part of now a spirit box.
That is awesome. See, that's innovative. That's innovative.
Oh,
you're not going to find it on a website.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, like, basically, the whole idea is that he could like light some candles, sit in a room, like meditate, and really tune in the box. Tune it right to where he needs to be. And I mean, because he's sensitive, because he has empathic abilities, like he can connect in theory on another level, and then he has the scrying in there. Like if he were to put a camera right behind him as he's doing his meditating while he's connecting, you know what I mean?
It's going to take some practice, but yes.
It's some time.
I tried it. I've only tried it once, and then,
a wire came loose.
Yeah. So, but it's going to take a little bit of practice because it's going to be hard to balance the ADHD along with the knobs and the staying in the meditative state. But I think as long as I get into a relaxed state and I'm able to connect with the sounds that are coming through and connect with the reflections that are coming through, I think that'll really create at least at the very least a good connection with that box. A really good connection.
Excuse me, I'm going on PayPal to send Austin money right now to get one of those.
I'll take it. I could always use some money.
To get one of those. That's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I do got one. The one I've been working on that I showed you, that I just showed the video for. I know Shawn has seen it. It's one that I actually have. I think it's a pulse width modulator. Is that what it is? A PWM.
Mm-hmm.
Actually going to the duty cycle of a 555 pulse generator. And that is then running into the radio. So like the duty cycle is, it's just kind of adding to, I don't want to call it specifically randomness because it's not true random, but it's kind of it's hitting random spots. And, when it goes up and down, it's almost like taking stair steps up and then stair steps down. And I thought it was really cool. And I haven't heard of anybody that has done that. And I'm not trying to say that it works. I don't know if it works. You know what I mean? I think it's a different idea.
Well, are we going to try it on Saturday?
Yeah, I can bring it.
That's awesome.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I'll bring it. We could try it out. But, I think it's cool. Just the different idea, I'm this next one I'm building, I'm actually going to switch it from the duty cycle to the speed. See what happens. I think the speed might be a better idea because it'll actually randomly kind of put out how much the duty cycle will be or how fast the sweep will be. So it'll increase and decrease constantly for a square wave generator, which is weird. I think that's where I was getting the stair step up. And this one was the duty cycle, but I think it was different than how I originally did it because I don't know if you remember a video I sent a while back that I had it going before. And that's how I originally had it, was the stair step up. But, I couldn't replicate it until now that I've played around with it. You know what I mean? I think I've got it now. I think I've got the secret. I'm going to try to figure it out.
It's experimental research, what we do. So that's why I love that you keep doing that, because we don't know 100% of how it works and what's going to work. And if people like you don't try those things, then we can't rule them out. And we can't say that this is a success or a failure or a step in a direction. You can't. It's huge to be able to do that. I'm an operator and I have more of a philosophical approach to this stuff. I'm not a builder. So when you talk about the builders that Austin named, including himself, the Hultays and everybody, I'm fascinated with the way your minds work and the stuff that all of you guys, like you mentioned KD and some of the stuff. So that's phenomenal stuff. That's phenomenal stuff. We need those people in what we do.
There's something that I do want to mention too. There's a project that Steve Hultay has been working on, and I'm sure you've heard the Bat Box, right? You know about that, Ron, right? So something me and Steve were doing, we were trying to figure out why, or he was trying to figure out why it wasn't working when he took it out of the bench. He would bring it, work on it, and at the bench it was working. He'd take it somewhere else, it wasn't. And as we recreated the situation, we figured out what it was. And it was actually, I'm not going to give specifics, but it was a type of interference that was being caused by some power tools or something that was there. And so what we realized is that we needed to add that interference. And when it did that, when he turned the sweep on or when he manually tuned it, I mean, it was the most insane communication session I have heard that I've had. And I mean, it's one of those things that you were hearing clear whisper words, responding to the questions. And I was doing it on a video chat with him. I was just asking questions and it was amazing. But, I think that he's been very hesitant about doing anything more with it. I really wish he wouldn't be hesitant about it, because I think it's a crazy idea, and it's a very new path within, within ITC that's not really explored very much. Using the ultrasonic frequencies. I mean, why not take it down that path? I mean, I'm even looking at like a little ham radio module that I found, and I'm trying to figure out if I can do something with the ham radio frequencies. That doesn't mean I can transmit on ham radio, but I can receive ham radio.
Right.
Because I think to transmit, you need a license, right?
Yeah, you need to broadcast out. You have to have a ham radio license. But one of the things that makes what we do so fascinating is that when I do direct radio voice sessions, for people who may not know, it's a barren long wave frequency. It's white noise. That's it. And I'll use a VST software to filter it. I'm using an AI component now to try to pull the vocals away from the noise. But it's literally just an empty white noise frequency. Long wave radio, there's nobody in the domestic region who's using it to broadcast. So one of the things that's fascinating about what we do is when we ask a question, we don't know if it's the thought form that is preceding our vocals that is getting to them. We create mechanical waves when we talk. They can't propagate far enough to be heard in a distance to a trucker or somebody who's using a radio. So when something responds to me on a direct radio voice session, I don't know how they're hearing me. I don't know if it's a thought form. I don't know if the carrier wave that I'm receiving is working like a half or a full duplex system. Half duplex is like walkie-talkie, one channel, two-way, one at a time. Full duplex, like a phone, two-way, simultaneous. I don't know how that's happening. So when you don't broadcast out and you get responses, that's part of what makes this a phenomenon and makes it anomalous.
And I just saw Katie brought up a good point too. Talking about the bringing back to the good mood, bad mood of the builder. And I know it's kind of going way out back to another point, but Katie added that the intent of the builder has a lot to do with the energy of the box too. Yeah, right there.
Yep, she's right.
I mean, I think that's absolutely right. Like if a builder is creating these boxes with the intention of like debunking everything, like making sure that no radio, no anything could create a false positive, then that gets into an interesting aspect though, because like if he was trying to do that but then something comes through, that makes it even crazier, doesn't it? But it does. I think like even what Katie was saying, like if the intention was, like you could get even deep with that. Like if the intention was to communicate with certain spirits, or to draw in a different type of energy. I mean, if the builder has that intention, they put that specific energy, like that's getting into radionics almost. Mm-hmm. Like where you study the intentional energy. Radionics is a whole nother ballgame. That's a whole crazy aspect of it, which I think it should be used with ITC. I really do. But I mean, the intent, like that kind of thing, could affect the way that the box works. Like maybe it won't work in all places, but in certain places with certain energies, you're going to have the craziest communication session in your entire life.
Oh, I think 100%.
Nick Kitty says, completely unprovable, but experimental from a builder's perspective. I made a themed box, 666 devil stuff. I did not enjoy making it.
Yeah,
like is that like, because you guys talk about like the intention, right? So someone's talking about like conjuring up like demons, and their intent is conjuring the whatever dark side, right? Do you think that box could primarily connect with darker energy, more negative energy, and therefore communicate with more negative spirits?
Yeah, actually I do. And actually Jay Prather, and even going back to like Katie's devil box, the 666 box, there's actually a box that Jay built with his tuner and everything, where he calls it the devil box. It was used on Ghost Adventures, I think, for a short period of time. But basically the box, everything about the box relates to the number 6. So like even the frequency was the frequency that it scanned at was like 6.66 or something like that. And, even it scanned at 666 kilohertz. And that's just like, that's all it was. And so like the intention of that box was the only way that it would communicate is if it maybe had some kind of correlation to the numbers 666,
Yeah.
or like that intention of having it only be available for communication to specific entities with,
That kind of intention.
I mean, would it work in that? I mean, I don't think that they had any results with it, but I mean, Jay hated building that box too. Like Katie said, she hated building the box that she built. I mean, I think that when you're building a box for some kind of negative intent, even if you are not the one with the negative intent, I think that that truly does have an effect, not only on the box, but like the entire energy that you bring into every location you go to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with them too. I think that's part of the collective consciousness, or what Rupert Sheldrake called the morphogenic fields, which is the collective energy of everybody and everything involved. Again, there's a global presence of that, and there's a more localized presence of that when you're doing a session. So I absolutely believe that that's possible, and that's true. I think he's right. And Katie Hultay, by the way, like Steve Hultay, she's a brilliant builder. I have some of her boxes too. They work phenomenally well. I think that if you get a chance, you go to HultayParanormal.com and look at some of the stuff they have, or their Facebook page too. I took a deep dive into direct radio voice like 3 years ago, and through them, and then through you too, Austin, because this is one of the boxes I have now. I got more passionate about and rekindled using ghost boxes more than just direct radio, because I love the stuff that they're doing, and so I acquired a bunch of their stuff, and it's fascinating. It's really, really cool stuff.
The thing I love about like Kate, okay, I'm gonna just say Katie is a fucking genius. Like she's a genius.
Yeah.
Like she's almost on some. I don't know exactly how she's doing what she does, because the way she does it, it's almost like on some Ron Ricketts level stuff. Like in Ron Ricketts back in the day, like he was one of the original like hackers. Like he would actually hack into the radio board itself and change all the coding and stuff that was already input by the factory.
That's cool.
And Katie is like, I don't know exactly. I want to say that she does something very similar, but she also is able to, add in the reverse speech aspect of the box. And most people, would have to use a pedal otherwise, or they'd have to have somebody build them, what they're looking for specifically. But, like she's able to implement things like that a lot of it were, something Steve had come up with. It's kind of crazy how they operate. It's like Steve is the idea guy, and Katie knows how to take that idea and basically bring it to life. Like she's like I love that one.
She made the forever box, forward and reverse speech, the sweep rate, adjustable, random and linear sweep, AM, FM. I've gotten fantastic stuff out of it. And you know what? Presentation counts for something, because when you pay for something, it's part of the perceived value. And this is awesome. It works well. It's good.
I mean, the fact that it's got all of those options available on it. I mean, it's it's a true ITC focused ghost box, like where you're trying to add. I mean, put it in random, reverse, AM, like, and I mean, I swear, if she's able to come up with a band jumping method like there was a guy, William Pemblot, that was in the field. I mean, Ron, you've heard of William Pemblot, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people call him a circuit guru, because this dude, all he does is like rebuild stereo systems, and I don't know exactly what he did, but it's something along those lines. But basically, he was working on a project called the Westboro Heaven's Gate device. And this Westboro Heaven's Gate device was basically band jumping. It was like random AM, FM, FM, AM, FM. Like it would just jump from band to band as a one single sweep, and you wouldn't even control another. So, and honestly, I'm so fucking in love with that idea. I know that she is tinkering around with the idea. and I hope that she is able to. I mean, I know she's going to be able to figure it out. She's a fucking genius, but I'm excited to see that but Katie is the one that is capable of that. Like and John Huntington put it very well. They are the power couple in the ITC community. I mean, like Steve has been doing this so damn long that like anything that you could think of, he at some point, has thought of it. I mean, there's video evidence back on YouTube, man. Like videos from 2008, 2009. What one's that one?
The Steve's box.
What number?
52.
Ooh, early one. 2011.
Yeah, I have stock in Hultay Paranormal. Let's just say that. I love what they do.
So like, but like, that's the thing is like Steve has done so much, and then Katie has found a way to take it to another level, or B, put it all together.
Yeah.
And that's just what's amazing about those guys. I can't say enough about it.
No argument here. No argument here. I agree too. They completely rekindled my infatuation with sweeping ghost boxes. Direct radio, I fell in love with 3.5 years ago, give or take. It's predates the ghost box. It's what early EVP research started doing. Some of the best vocals I've ever heard on a capture were direct radio voices. There's a documentary called Calling Earth on Vimeo. You see Marcello Bacci talking to people. He has a sitting going on, and there were scientists and physicists, and Sinkowski was there, and he's getting responses in Italian. And then he goes, I have friends who have traveled from far. And then he goes, sorry, Bacci. And then he goes, hello, David Fontana. And it starts talking in English like we're talking. It's unbelievable stuff. So I fell in love with that path. And then I get to know these guys, and I'm like, their ghost boxes are fantastic. I will take 8 or 9 of them.
I think I've had the only thing that I can say is that I have had the best teachers in the world. I mean, the guys that have taught me have been, Steve and Katie Hultay, Jay, KD. These guys are
royalty.
The best in the field. I mean, it's hard to sit here and take credit for anything yet, really, because it's like, they've taught me pretty much everything I know. I mean, I found a few things along the way, but that's like the whole purpose is like I want them to more just guide me in the right direction than tell me the answer. And that's I appreciate them more than I can even like honestly say out loud.
Yeah, our generation, the Staffords, the Hultays, the Prathers, those are ITC royalty. Those names are historic, in my opinion, in what we do, and in any field and in anything. Leaders don't make followers. Leaders make other leaders, and that's I think the dynamic that's happening with you, and that's important because it branches everything out more, and it propagates more into the field. The more people who have the capacity to do this and to push the bounds, the better off everybody in the field is for it.
Yeah, man. I just want, like, even with Shawn recently joined on the Underground Paranormal Network. And I told him right from the start too, I always try to put everybody in the best position, like for them to blossom. It's like, I just want to give them a platform for them to kind of take off from, kind of like an air traffic air traffic carrier?
Air controller.
Like out in the Navy uses them for, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, aircraft
carrier. It's kind of like that. Like I'm trying to let the jets take off and fly and do their own thing, and Shawn and I are going to announce a new project coming up. Shoot, what should we do it on Saturday or should we do it
dude, I want to do it on Saturday if we can, guys.
All right.
Because Austin's talking about how he tries to give people these opportunities. Dude, he doesn't try. Okay, there's a location that I've talked about. I'm like, I got to get you these people. I have so many people I want to get into this location. It's a historical landmark. It's a very, very important historical building. And I've been wanting, oh my goodness. And Austin has made it so that we can open this building back up to the paranormal community and save the history, because this building needs so much work. The money we're going to help raise is going to go towards getting a new roof and doing all those wonderful things. This is an opportunity. Austin made this happen for me and for the community. The only reason why I say for me is because I get to have the honor of managing it, right? So that's it. Austin is the rest, man. It's absolutely amazing, and it's a complete honor. And I can't, like, for the longest time, I would go to friends like, guys, how can we do this with this place? It's not going to happen. There's no way it's going to happen. And now here we are. Here we are. I mean, yes, we do still need to completely close the deal. Yes, certain things do still need to fall into place, but here it is. It's looking like it's going to happen. Even if it doesn't happen, no one's been this close in the last, what? How long has it been? It's since 2016 was the last investigation that was in this building.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's going to be I think it's a great opportunity for Shawn to not, like, I mean, I know that he's wanted this location. He's told me about it. And the fact that we had the opportunity to even talk to the guy that owned it, I'm glad that we were able to. I'm glad Shawn got the ball rolling with that first and foremost. And I mean, it's going to be a great addition to the network. And it's just adding more locations that are available for people to come and experience. And I say experience, not just, walk through or whatever, like full experience, you got to say there. Brian, no, we cannot. We're not going to disclose anything until Saturday.
It's in the States.
It's branching
It's in the
out.
States.
We could say it's branching out Underground Paranormal Network's reach a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we do have one in Cincinnati, but I mean, I'm not really concerned about how much, whatever, how many big UGPN. I mean, it's really more along the lines of just having these locations that are really under the radar, amongst the masses at least, just have a chance to stay standing. At the very least, a lot of these buildings are being used as storage. They're just sitting there. A lot of people don't even actually, a lot of the buildings that I brought in, nobody knew about. Nobody knew about Middle Point School, or what I mean? Nobody knew about any of that. And so it's great that more locations are being able to have that same platform, and especially this one, which I know is very close to Shawn's heart and very close to him too, I guess. So that's about as much as I'm going to give away.
And Shawn, you said that he said that this place needed the restoration money too, that the funding would help it, right?
Yes.
See, that's huge, and Austin, that's something that I applaud too, because a lot of places like White Hill Mansion in South New Jersey, built in 1723, so that's 53 years before this was the United States. All right, they got through the pandemic because of paranormal groups that rented the place out. That was their only revenue stream when the place was not able to be open otherwise. And new rooms, all that stuff, that's crucial.
No, and I mean, that's the thing that I noticed about the paranormal field. I mean, whether people believe in the afterlife or not, whether you want to buy into any of this, tourism, money talks always, and if you I have started to develop a reputation for being able to market, to promote, to get the word out, basically. And that's kind of what I've considered myself for so long, was more of a hype man than anything. But the hype man for so many years has worked to the point where, just the attention or just being added to a network, because every time somebody comes to one of our locations or messages about one of our locations, even inquires, I say, yes, there's this one, but check out all these other ones we have too. So even if you're inquiring about one and you don't know about the other so many, it's well, look, we have all these as well. These are so many that, and we even offer package deals for people to be able to experience all of them. So they can book 5-6 nights throughout the span of a year and book it all in January and pay $200 down, right? And I mean, $200 down can book you 5-6 separate locations on 5-6 separate dates. You know what I mean? And these are all locations that are just amazing. I mean, we're not bringing just any locations on, and I mean, what Shawn has told me about this location is, phenomenal. I mean, it's crazy the amount of stuff that he continues to show me and send me. And I mean, it's very. I'm excited about this one. I am very excited about this one.
Yeah, let me tell you, I think our group's like 2 years, 2.5 years old, and sometimes you're running a paranormal group and you're in like a paranormal drought, whether it was COVID or whether it was just your life gets busy, mate. But if you are somewhat in charge of a group and you've got your team harassing you, when's the next location, when's this, when's that, then you start looking for locations. You got to go to Austin Maynard. He helped us make accommodations to sleep there. We booked like a 3 deal, and they're like the wildest places. We went to one. It was a village.
Godlight Village.
Yeah, and I used to say, because like early on, my second investigation ever was a steamship, potentially, hypothetically, in Cleveland.
Not
Huge.
the William G. Mather.
You know what? I don't know. Anyways, it was crazy watching the sunset. It's dark. It's got and it was just so unique, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even realize it, but it aged so well. But now that I'm like 8 years into the field, when you go to a location that's that special, you recognize, oh, this is one of the coolest places I've ever been to over the years. It's just the wide range, and that was just one of the locations that Austin helps manage or manages, or like I mean, you're the man, but you know what I mean. And just to be
How many
able
buildings did you get through? Sorry, how many buildings did you?
you know what? Not well. The big ones, yes, the big ones. We didn't have. You never get through it all. That's the real issue, and everyone was yelling at me because a lot of people couldn't come. We want to kiss, yeah, but I mean, we're going back, but
I mean, you kind of have to go there like 3 or 4 times to be able to cover all 28 buildings.
We at least got to like look into 80-90% of them. Yeah, but I don't know.
Spending time and investigating each one and finding out the energy in each building, man, that would take. You'd need at least 3 or 4 days, I think.
We needed to sleep there. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you need to get the deal where you could sleep there just so you can
sleep in a cabin.
Well, I'm gonna say, Brian, that you're out of your damn mind with these dates that you've chosen.
Hey, man.
He's gonna sleep in the Williams County Jail in like December or January, I think.
Come on, man. Like, look, I talked to Austin. He said, man, you can't wait. Man, you got to get to these locations. They're calling your name. Your entire team are going to have unforgettable memories that, I mean, Brian, you think I'm the man? Brian, you will be the man once you get these deals done. I said, all right, Austin, come on, man. Give it to me. November. Absolutely.
Is that how I sold it?
I hope you have a electric blanket and.
Man, I'm telling you, like it's gonna be cold as hell. Oh my god!
It was actually so hot because I bought these like whatever 0-degree sleeping bags and whatever. Like I bought enough to where like if people didn't have sleeping bags, we could just bring them. It was just so hot. It was so hot there. The issue is the comfort. Y'all need to bring your sleeping pads. You see what I'm saying? Go get your cot.
Air mattress.
I think it was Ron that was saying, I'll bring my cot, man.
Bring your cot.
In the elevator, that $500, get a cot, my boy, because sometimes you're going to be sleeping there. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, but all the places that Austin and fantastic. But to Ron's point, I'm a huge advocate of getting like the next generation involved, and also health goals, because I need to keep these investigators alive. Like I need to keep them healthy. I said, come on, man. Like let's get some healthy hobbies going. Let's get excited about your health because, these locations, they don't need you as spirits. They need you, paying the investigation fees to keep them open. We need to get the youth excited. We need to keep our paranormal veterans healthy, and
Can I throw out an idea?
Yeah.
For like the healthy habits.
Yeah.
On investigations, I hear it's helpful to get the adrenaline going by jump scaring somebody from behind a corner.
Okay.
Then they might start running. They might be going up or down stairs when they run. I mean,
okay. I like
you get that cardio going, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just gotta kind of jumpstart that heart rate a little bit.
Yeah. And like, if you make it constant, just like the variable that Ron was talking about earlier, I mean, if you make it constant, it's almost like a fart lick, you know what I mean? It's like a sprint walk, sprint walk, sprint walk.
A fart walk?
Fart lick.
Yeah.
Like you ever been out behind that guy at the store?
That's Shawn, actually.
Hey, Shawn, can you?
The walking fart.
You pull out the Febreze. I haven't paid for this yet, but I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's I don't want to like single any type of person out, but there's a certain age bracket that's more susceptible to things like that happening, and the walk and fart thing.
It's grandma and grandpa.
Yeah, usually it's grandpa.
Also, do you give a special deal?
I guess you're right.
How it's like that. What's that called? Where just like if you're like 55 or something over, you get like that senior citizens discount.
Senior citizens discount.
Yeah. Y'all do that for your investigations? Like,
are you a senior citizen?
No. But like,
no, he's the youngest person on this panel.
Could you imagine like a retired group, a bunch of like 70, 75-year-olds, and just like chilling at a haunted location, sleeping there? That'd be awesome. We need to get that going.
I would not recommend senior citizens sleeping at my locations because I'm surprised that you're even doing it. Because I don't recommend it to people that don't have completely safe and clean lungs. Like if you got emphysema or COPD, I wouldn't necessarily recommend staying in there and sleeping in there. I mean, they're old buildings that have been sitting there for a while. I can only sweep them so many times a month.
Well,
you know what I mean? It's like it's getting a little dusty in these places, man.
We're doing the school and the funeral home. I mean,
the funeral home is fairly clean, actually. So that one I would say yes.
Which school are you doing, right?
The Middle Point.
Middle Point, nice.
It's tough with that one. It depends on how many people you have. There's certain rooms that you could go and sleep in where you can close the door and keep it warm if you got a space heater. But you got to be very careful with that because there's only like 2 electrical.
We don't even need a heater. What Austin's saying is that there are beautiful gems at the Middle Point School that you guys can sleep in and have a great time. I mean, book it now. Get a little Christmas special in there. You see what I'm saying?
We're not liable if you get hypothermia, though.
guys, all you need is a sleeping bag, guys. Come on, man.
I mean, but your head's sticking out still, bro. I mean, like,
I don't know.
If it's like cold. If it's like 20 degrees outside and you're just like sleeping in a stone building and it's even colder inside.
Brian, when we did our last
OSI
at Madison Seminary, that was cold as hell, and I don't want to do that ever again.
I did Ohio State Reformatory in January, dude.
We did Mansfield in February. That was cold as shit.
So
unfortunately.
Oh, was I there, Shawn? Was that when we went?
You were. It was you, me, Mike Rick and a bunch of people.
My fingers started swelling up. It was so damn cold. I didn't even understand that.
I literally have a big pack of 10 like little kid gloves because I got small hands. I bring it to every investigation, man. I said all of my group, they're gonna have warm hands. Well, if they fit, you know what I mean? But like,
I like the dot gloves.
With
the rubber ones that have the rubber dots on them. Yeah, those are my favorites. You double up on those too if it gets extra cold.
Mine were the cheap ones. They didn't have the dots.
Oh, you
So
can get
guys,
them.
we like totally went off on a tangent for like I don't know how long.
Yeah, we're not even talking about ITC anymore.
I know we totally got way off subject. Ron's sitting there like, guys.
Well, I think Ron said Austin's great, and then
Well, we were talking about. Well, what happened was Austin brought up this location, and it just like blew up into other locations and everything. And now here we are.
Yeah, my bad. Oh, the
I gotta get out
granted.
that way.
Yeah, you do, Ron. You were supposed to do that in like August, but what happened, man?
Oh, well, that was
bro.
Yeah, I know that was Rathman ended up coming here. I know. I gotta get out there too. Well, we're
What
coming
area
out.
what
for
area
Static
do you live in, Ron?
I'm in northern New Jersey. We're literally right across from the Upper West Side of Manhattan, New York City.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think earlier, I mean, we spent a good an hour or so, like Tony and Ron and myself, like actually discussed, like we went into length about ITC, and you guys like asked us like 3 questions. Like you just like we spent an hour answering like just a few questions. You guys just literally like turned the key. Like I said, wind us up, watch us go, man.
yeah, we didn't even get to your 13 questions, Austin. So we'll just say
Oh,
that for another
man.
time or something.
I did that already. I did
You
that
did
the
do it
first
once
time.
already.
You don't gotta do it.
Well, listen, I got another 13 fresh ones for you, man. You know,
Well, another
it's
time.
like going. Yeah. I know, but like, listen, it's like going back to the village. Okay, you don't ask the same questions, but it's always a beautiful experience.
Real quick, Ron, as a researcher, if there is one thing that you wish any ITC device could do that doesn't do right now, what would you like it to do? Like what? Yeah.
That's a good question there, Ron.
Probably the absolute most possible detail in making audible vocals discernible, making everything class A, whether it would do it by adapting tonality that was missing, detecting syllables, something that would make it discernible, because of the goal for us when we do direct radio is I'm chasing, even though I'm trying to make progress, I'm chasing history. I'm trying to get what Marcello Bacci got on a vacuum tube radio using stuff that's more technologically advanced than what he had. So if you watch like Calling Earth on Vimeo, they had conversations in real time, and it was completely discernible. Like we're talking now, Dr. Annabel Cardoso in Spain gets real time conversations at length sometimes, like we're talking now. Mark Macy got a phone call from Konstantin Radove. Why is that important? Radove was dead for 20 years. That's the kind of stuff. So if I could have any aspect to a device, it would be something that cleared up any identifiable word that you got. And the AI component that I'm using for direct radio filtration now has helped notably with doing that. But that's the brass ring for me, is to be able to actually dialogue like we're doing right now with whatever realm or something that we're connecting to when we do that.
It's your next project, Austin.
But
seriously, I think if anyone could do it, right, it's you guys and everything. Now, there's guys like me who are really trying to get more into ITC. And one of the hardest things that I have with it is actually picking out the responses. Sometimes it can be really hard to hear the responses. Sometimes it seems like they can be really easy to miss if they are not 100% clear, right? So what would you say would be
what Katie said too?
Katie Hultay is I'm going to just repeat what Austin said. She's a genius, and I love her, and she's a genius.
That's a fucking great idea right there. And that,
so you get like a little screen.
Yep.
You get like a little screen that goes across.
Yeah,
I like that.
There's that too. Even the speech to text function on your notepad, anything like that, where if your phone uses AI to create those closed captions and the speech to text. And so, like what Katie was saying is like you could literally put that up next to a ghost box or next to like that's what I do for her Orion device. Just
that's great.
So I just put it right there, and it will just pick up whatever words it picks up. And I mean, there have been times where, especially with the Orion, because it's just constant phonemes and, just, yeah. So I've put it through. And I mean, although there's a lot of nonsense in there seemed to be commonalities with each line that almost told a story. And it was fascinating in one sense, but it was hard to like I don't know. I want to do more with it, but that's the kind of stuff that could help discern it. But also a big thing too, it could be as simple as like the way I shot the precinct video is just literally just film your session and go back and listen to it. I mean, literally the audio from your camera or a digital recorder may help to clear up the audio. And I mean, I know Ron would agree that it does you have to train your ear to be able to listen to, like real fast ghost box sweep, in my opinion. Like, I mean, really unless you got like the echo that's really clear, like, I mean, you have to learn to train your ear.
100%.
And it's one of those things it's almost like trying to understand a different not a language, but a slang or accent.
Yep.
Like somebody who has a really thick accent that you are having trouble understanding. It's like you really got to figure out how to tune everything else out, and almost like just empty your brain, close your eyes, and listen to what the box is saying.
Yeah,
and
no,
if you do that enough, you'll learn how to do it.
Spot on. There are people who are critical of what we do will say that that's like a cop out. Oh, you got to train your ear. You should be able to just hear it and stuff like that. My cell phone isn't always discernible when I use it, right? And I pay Verizon every month to use that thing. But also in our consciousness, we also have what's called an inborn pattern recognition, which is, if to liken it to an example, is every time you do this, like he's saying, you learn the process. You learn how to do it. I know a guy who will go to a bar and he'll listen to one conversation and try to isolate that and not listen to the other ones to learn how to do that. With inborn pattern recognition, what our mind does, it's tantamount to, like, let's say you're in like a small plane or a copter, right? And you're flying over terrain you've never seen before. It's new to you. The first pass, nothing stands out. You don't recognize anything. The second pass, you start picking out reference points. By the third or fourth and fifth pass, now you start being able to put together some kind of a picture or some kind of a memory or context for what you're looking at. But at the beginning, there is that curve of learning where you have to kind of take it all in and assess it and learn how to do that. So he's spot on with that. There's an educational aspect to it that I think can easily get overlooked if you're not aware of it.
Biggest thing, you just got to do sessions. Like, I mean, even down in your basement, out of your garage. I mean, it's not as long as if you close the door. In my opinion, as long as you close the door, you're good.
Yeah.
Yep. But like, even I don't ever have any problems. But I think like just doing stuff at your house. That's how I learned how to really listen in. Is just. The more you have the box on, the more you listen to it, the easier it is to hear.
Yep. The Orion talker box, that this is the allophones and phenomes that Katie built. I have one of her Orion talkers. It is one of the best examples in life that I could ever provide with anything I've ever paid for, where the product paid off immediately. I got home with it. And I was living at my apartment at the time, and Lourdes and I went outside to have a glass of wine, and we were sharing a cigar. I had one cigar left, we're sharing a cigar, and out of it, it says terrace, Churchill on your terrace. Terrace is another word for balcony. Churchill is a type of cigar. It's a long cigar. And I have the recording of, there you go. So, I mean, it was spot on. We turned it on, and it said Red Bull. And we were with Anthony Seminelli from Seekers Club at the Paranormal, and he had a Red Bull in his hand. That was the first 4 hours that I owned it.
Wow, that's right.
I mean, the way I love the Orion, simply because of the way I use it, with that the manual tuning knob, the speech or the pitch, I guess. As you tune it back and forth, it creates almost like an up and down of the tone of the voice. So it almost sounds very, very a lot more human. Yep.
There it is. This is the one that I got.
Ron, how many boxes do you
got?
have?
Random and manual sweep. It's got volume. You can reset. Oh, it's on this side.
You got a burst mode too. Oh no, you don't. Oh.
Yeah.
How
It's
many
the
boxes
18
do you own?
Me?
Yeah.
I probably have 8 or 9 Hultay boxes, including that one. Because I do direct radio voice stuff, I also have a German Saba vacuum tube radio. I just got this thing. This is a vacuum tube Zenith. It's a transoceanic. It's a shortwave radio that I just picked up. And I have a lot of world band radios, like German Grundig radios that are just because I like to use long wave. I know shortwave also is primarily used in Europe, but I like to use long wave because it's the closest thing to VLF, which is what Rathman had told Mark Macy to use, and it's completely barren of radio emissions. So when I get anything that sounds like vocal cadence, I shouldn't.
Yeah, man. He has this one that's like, oh man. In one of his profile pictures, he has one of these radios. It's like, I don't even know how big it is. How big is that thing, Ron? You know exactly which radio I'm talking about.
The vacuum tube, the wooden one.
It's the one that's like big, like long. You have it in one of your profile pictures that you and Lourdes are in.
Oh, the boombox picture.
Yeah, the big boombox. Like that thing is massive. That's like a ghetto blaster, man.
It is. Yeah, she calls me the LL Cool J of ITC because I carry this thing around.
Yeah, that dude. Oh,
that's what I started doing direct radio on.
Wow.
I would run that when we started. I would run a long wave frequency in the 200 kilohertz range, and it was just white noise. That was it. And then just as an example, I was running just white noise on 222 kilohertz. And one night the white noise, the noise floor was not consistent. It was that was choppy. And on the recording, I could sing you the YouTube link. And on the recording, I said it sounds like helicopter interference. We are right by the Hudson River to New York. Maybe it's a helicopter. And like a minute and 40-something seconds after that, a very synthetic metallic voice says, "Not a helicopter." No broadcast, no sweep. I don't know how anybody would have heard me to correct me. I was more than happy to be corrected. I'll tell you that. That's for sure.
Wow.
Especially
So how do you do these sessions? You just turn on the radio on one station with the
Yeah, direct radio voice is not nearly as complicated. I'm using like an AI component, and I'll use I've used a portal before to clean it up. But at its core, it's a barren, empty frequency on a white noise channel, and you just listen to it. Marcello Bacci, when he did it in Italy, would let it run 15, 20 minutes to establish a connection bridge. Then his noise floor would bottom out. He would get like a wind whooshing kind of a sound. And then a moderator would come through, and then he had parents that came in every time, whatever, people, and their loved ones, vocals they recognize, would come forth. The moderator would bring them forward. It's phenomenal what he got. But that's all it was. And Annabelle Cordosa runs 3 shortwave frequencies that are empty, no radio. And she just runs them. She has a microphone recording them, and then she has one that goes into a mixing board that she records herself asking the questions. And that's it. It's low tech in a lot of aspects of it, which lends itself to what Austin was talking about for the spiritual side of it, the metaphysical side of it, the co-resonance of us and our being part of the morphogenic field, the human antenna aspect of it, because that's as bare bones, pure EVP like as you can get with a radio.
Yeah, and that's what exactly what I was gonna say. It's like it's literally a radio frequency version of using the digital recorder. Like it's literally putting it on a dead station, and I mean, the theory is that they can use any source of audio that you give them to form words. Right. Like it's just like it depends. Like I see it as like the bit rate or the sample rate. You know what I mean? Like the smaller the sample rate, like if you got, like for instance, the DR60, you know, a lot of people feel certain ways about that. But at the end of the day, the 6.6 bits per second sample rate is almost like you're talking the difference between Call of Duty on modern recorders versus Minecraft on the DR60. So when you look at that difference, I mean, what would be easier to take apart and build? You know, like the lower sample rate would, I mean, if you look at it, it's like Mega Blocks versus Legos. So I think that if anything is at the right frequency level, I think it could be used. I think it's just a matter of determining what that frequency level is. Is it a combination of frequencies? I mean, like, what if Ron were to start running the 222 kilohertz in addition to the shortwave ones that were experimented with before?
I've actually done that. I've taken what's called heterodyning, where you take two unique frequencies and you blend them to create one unique frequency that's the sum and difference of the two. I've run a tone generator, a shortwave empty frequency, and a long wave empty frequency through a mixing board, and then piped that through the VST and the AI, and then sent it out through a Bluetooth speaker, just in case manipulation happens between when it's generated and when it actually comes out the speaker by going through the air as well, just to give that extra vertical to it. So I've tried
so much that goes into that specific thing too, because I mean, when you're talking, it's almost like a combination lock, and you don't know the combination.
Brilliant.
How are you gonna do that? Like, I mean, you're literally talking about going 00000001. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do that, especially with the vast amount of frequencies between each RF band. I mean, if you were to start mixing AM, long wave, short wave, you start mixing the VLF, the UHF channels.
Yep.
You know, you start mixing all those together. I mean, what would be the right combination to unlock that door that goes to the veil, you know, or that door to the other side of the veil? I mean, what if it's something that simple? And I mean, even like you said, using the tone generator. I mean, what else does that add into it? It adds audio frequencies. I mean, you could even get into adding into the light frequencies and adding the vibrational frequencies. There's so many different things. It's all related to frequencies. Everything in this universe has a resonant frequency that we all vibrate on. I mean, mine's different than Ron's, different than Brian's, you know what I mean? And, you know, rocks have a resonant frequency. So, like, if everything in the universe that exists has a resonant frequency, what if it's just a matter of tapping into that specific frequency?
You should have the combination.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, RF frequencies are not going to be the sole frequencies. Like, there's got to be a mixture of all different kinds to create. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, that's freaking brilliant. That's brilliant. And we don't know the other side of the equation. That's the other thing I always tell people, is that 50% or more of what's happening, we don't control. People go, well, if that thing talks to ghosts, turn it on. They should be there. That's the same thing. If I call my father 10 times, he answers one time. I can't control the other side. Here's the part that they don't get, I think, is when you're trying to dialogue, there's an implied intelligence in the equation, right? You don't talk to your couch and look for responses, because that would be insane. You know you're not going to get an answer. So when you're looking for dialogue, there's inherent in that intelligence. With intelligence comes choice and free will. So even if you communicate, even if you're connecting, even if you've got the lock figured out in the combination, if on that other side they're having a technical breakdown, they're having a difficulty hearing us, or they don't want to talk, right? Then you've got free will being exercised. So that doesn't speak to the efficacy of the device or the method. It speaks to the circumstance and the situation. So there are so many variables on side two of this that we don't control. We do as much as we can to vet the authenticity on our side with what we're trying. And if I do something and it works, I'll do it again, and I'll keep doing it again. And you know what? I've gotten in Austin the scene. I've gotten tremendous stuff doing direct radio voice, and then I've done the same setup again and got nothing, because I am not the puppeteer of the whole process. And that's the thing I had to come to terms with, like we all do.
Yeah, A plus B equals C, and everyone keeps focusing on A because it's the only thing you can't focus on, but you can't ignore B, because without B, you don't get C.
Yeah, Ron has sent me some pretty damn incredible audio clips of some DRVs that he's captured. You sent me a number of them, actually. It's like, damn.
I love sending Austin stuff. You never get a more genuine reaction from an ITC guy than you do from Austin.
I get excited, man. I get excited about it.
It is. It is
like
fascinating.
Real ITC. Like, when there's something that, I mean, everybody's gotten, a ghost box response, a spirit box response, an EVP, an orb picture, whatever, Everybody has some form of that crap. And I call it crap. I'm sorry, I don't mean to call it crap. It's evidence to whoever the perceiver is. Mm-hmm. But when there's something like that, like the voices that he sends me in these audio clips, that are not. I mean, it's like I honestly, Ron is really the only one. I guess Jay does a little bit of work with it, but Ron is really the only DRV researcher that I know that's actually doing the work. You know what I mean? He's actually studying on the specific frequencies, and I mean, it's amazing that the captures that are coming out of just these white noise frequencies, you know, and I mean, the frequency that is created by that RF, the signal, is just what the the speaker is creating that audio tone for that specific radio frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, even when you're doing DRV, you're mixing a couple of different frequencies because RF is not necessarily audio frequencies. It's, I mean, how would you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's converting the RF frequency into an audio frequency so that we can hear it, because otherwise we can't hear our radio frequency.
Right. So it's being modulated down. And if you take the concept of higher vibrational level entities that are coexisting in the same plane of existence or overlapping dimensions or wormhole or whatever, and so at a higher vibrational level, and this also speaks to, again, the critical side of if it talks to ghosts and whatever, why can't you do it all the time? Why isn't it perfectly clear? Well, because when you have a slowing of vibration, when you have a stepping down of the audio, when you demodulate it like that, you have degradation of quality of sound also. And so if we can have disruptions in service when we're trying to do, you try to get a regular radio, like when I do a ghost box where I work, if I'm inside and I sweep AM, I can't get good reception on it. So I can't, it hurts the quality of my results. So if that can happen in a line of sight transmission communication setup, why is it so hard to grasp that can also happen if you're trying to do something that's otherworldly or interdimensional in process? Now, the early DRV people would use AM frequencies because FM bands, of course, it's a tighter frequency modulation. It's tighter. It's not as prone to interference as AM with the longer bands, especially VLF, which is what Rodave would suggest to Macy, because those were used to propagate the water for submarine communication at one point. I think emergency services used to use them, but they went to the upper gigahertz range now. So that's more prone to interference, which is what you want, because any communication that's coming from wherever else it is a form of interference that's fusing with what we're doing. We want that. What we want to do then is make it so we can understand it. And that's really hard. That's the hard part.
I think I try to compare it to like trying to contact somebody with a walkie-talkie in a building that's made of really thick concrete and you guys are on multiple different floors. Like you can't, like the signal's just hit and miss. I mean, if you can find it, you can find it. If not, don't expect it to come in, but like you might get a hit, you know, or fishing too.
Yeah.
Fishing is another good analogy. It's like you throw your questions out there, your rod is your device.
No, it's
you
just
get,
like the
you get a
paranormal.
bite, you get a bite. If not, sometimes you can have a good day of fishing or a bad day of fishing.
Yeah, and you know what? And to circle back to the free will and having choice, if you're talking about an intelligence, right? Sometimes a fish looks at the bait and goes, ah, and sometimes they go, nope, and they don't do it. So when there's any thought process going on, you have free will and choice. And so I think we get judged a lot of time with, not consistently doing whatever. And again, also, that's why I also have reverence for the history of it, because Marcello Bacci was shielded with his radios to get no RF signal whatsoever. He was investigated by an Italian team called Il Laboratorio, where the lead guy, Paolo Presi, was, I think, a physicist, had him, or a biologist, he had him take out one vacuum tube at a time. And he goes, if you get voices when I take out one, I'm take out the second one. If you get it again, I'm going to take out the third one. If you get voices with no tubes, all three out, I'll eat the tube. And they did it. 1, 2, 3. And he got voices. And Bacci looked at him and he goes, no, don't eat tube. It's glass. But he got the voices. And the only thing they could remove from the equation that stopped the vocals was Bacci himself. So when we try to make our case for the legitimacy of this whole ITC stuff, you have to have some familiarity and reverence with the history of it, because that guy did do it in threes. He did have everything. They made him work with his radios open after they inspected them, so he wouldn't caught, if they could catch him in any kind of trickery. Never happened. Didn't take a dime for it. So that's the gold standard to me. Is like he jumped through all these hoops. We're past that point. Let's stop treating the people who are critical of what we do like they still have that on us. They don't. And if you don't prove to the satisfaction of somebody who doesn't believe that something's paranormal effect. This is not Little League Baseball. They don't win if you don't score enough. If you don't prove it, it stays anomalous. The burden of proof is on the person making the claim, right? You claim it's paranormal, you don't prove it, it's anomalous. The other person, by doubting it, has a claim that says it's not. They have to prove that too.
Right. Now, you guys had mentioned, about free will and choice, right? And with the ITC. Well, you know what? That goes for locations too.
I was just about to say that.
Location, you can go one night and it's crazy acting. You'll get a rock thrown at your head. I don't know, just throwing random stuff out there. But then next time you go there, you'll get absolutely nothing. And it could be 2 nights in a row. It could be any time. It could be, and we don't know what exactly causes this, but it's just the way it is. So I mean, there's no definitive way to really even balance it or even weigh the how that even works. So
that's why skeptics can't. That's why skeptics can't disband and debunk. Nobody skeptical has ever removed a process or a methodology or a device from the field because they have proven beyond a doubt it doesn't ever work.
Right.
The person who's an actual skeptic or even the believer that none of this is true, they have to be right 100% of the time. The person who believes in the paranormal being possible has to only be right once.
That is very, very, very true. But yeah, Shawn, I agree with you. I mean, it's even kind of the same way. I almost believe that the more people, investigators, whatever, go to certain locations, I think that it's basically like beating them with a stick every single night and beating them with the same stick every single time too. And that's what, I mean, you start having investigators come in, I would think that eventually the spirits would be like, okay, I told you guys my name like 600 times now. You still haven't gotten it. Like, I'm tired of acting like a monkey in a circus act or something. It's like, I'm not here to perform your tricks. Eventually, they're going to get sick of it unless somebody comes in with probably a different energy, a different type of questioning. I mean, something that's just not the same crap. Like, I mean, I almost want to say that Waverly Hills, Bobby Mackey's, places that have been on the radar for a long time. Like, I don't necessarily even want to go to these locations only because I feel like they've been beaten to death with the stick for decades. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Waverly Hills especially has been open since the 80s as a paranormal location, the 80s or 90s. I mean, how many people have gone in there out of how many nights out of how many years? You know what I mean? Like, I know that they do like over 100 bookings per year. And if you got 100 teams going into this location every year, how many people are on each team asking, what's your name? How'd you die? I mean, at Waverly, it's kind of like, why would you ask that?
Yeah.
But you get my point.
Yeah.
You get my point. I mean, it's like, eventually, if I was a ghost, logically thinking, I would be like, man, I'm tired of this shit. I'm going somewhere else. Just leave me alone for the night. Yeah. But, who knows?
Yeah.
And intelligence, free will, and choice are interlinked. So you're dialoguing, looking for an intelligent response. That's what we call it, right? Spirit talks back to you. We go, oh, it's an intelligent spirit. You have free will and choice. And then that's not speaking to the efficacy of the device. And when you get false positives, there's a responsibility on the operator to discern between what is or isn't legitimate with timing, relevance, and whatever else you can do to vet that too. To say that it doesn't always work doesn't say that the method doesn't work at all or it's not valid, because by definition, for any methodology to be considered scientific, it has to be falsifiable. So the fact that you can create a false positive doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means you have to have the responsibility and education to know what you're doing and how to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I concur.
And so, guys, we have gone over by 25 minutes.
I got to go to work.
Oh, okay. So Austin needs to get to. I know. Brian's got crazy things going on. So real quick, Ron.
Yes, sir.
Do you have anything that you would like to plug? Any projects coming up? Any videos you'd like us to go and check out?
Sure. We have a Facebook page called ITC The Invisible Art. Our website is Gonyac, Gonyac Paranormal.com. Our YouTube channel is Gonyac, Gonyac. That's for Lourdes Gonzalez, is Gon and Yacovetti. Gonyac Paranormal is our YouTube page. Some of the stuff that I have sent to Austin, the videos are up there. I just signed a publishing deal with Beyond the Fray Publishing for my first book. It's called Paranormally Speaking, Knowingly Talking to the Unknown. I practice what I preach, the love that I have for the people in the field. I took, like I said, 15, give or take, researchers who are phenomenal people, in my opinion, including Austin, including Tony Rathman, including the Hultays. And I asked for advice for the aspiring ITC operator, because I wanted some of the best in class to be represented in what I do, because I am part of a community. I'm not it. I'm not the community. That book hopefully will be out soon this year. I'm working on another one to follow up on that, to get a little bit more into the methods and direct radio stuff I do. So when I have that, I'll put it out. I wish I was able to plug the book right now, but that's mainly. And we're supposed to go, I think, to the Vegas Para-Unity Conference in December.
Ooh,
So I think Katie Stafford's going to be there too. So I look forward to meeting him, because him and his wife too are freaking brilliant too. And they're just those kinds of people. They inspire you to do what you do. And if you take the word inspire, right, it comes from in spirit. So there you go.
And you're going to be coming out in June to
Yes. Static
Voice
Voice.
event.
Huge honor to be included. You have the Hultays, you have Woolworth. I don't know if you have Stafford and Prather going. I know you were working on them.
I have KD. I have the KD and
coming.
Katie.
Yeah, well, that's for right there. That Static Voices thing was an honor to be included in, because those names, like I said before, and I back up. I mean, when I say that's royalty. That's ITC royalty in our generation, and so just to be included with all those people is awesome to me. Can't wait.
Well, I think it's going to be cool, because we're going to have the entire funeral home wired up with microphones and speakers, all come down to a mixer underneath the stairs. And so we're going to be able to literally like plug and play with all different types of recorders, ghost boxes. Like the whole house becomes an ITC experiment.
Yeah. So you can't question me when I say you're an innovator, can you?
Well, I do like the idea of that one. That one I'm proud of.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
It's cool that the
awesome.
owner is ready to do that too, though. I mean, I think it's amazing that he is ready and willing to do that. Like, he wants us to do that. So, like, I mean, anytime people come to investigate the funeral home too, they will have use of that. You know what I mean? Different speakers and microphones in each and every room to be able to emit audio from ghost boxes, even record or whatever, and also record audio. So, I mean, it's just wild.
It is.
I mean, it's just like mix it all. Why not do it all as a whole? Make it all one big connected thing. It's like, and then I got the best coming out. I got the best in the field coming out to take advantage of this giant experiment.
So
and it's like, shit. And so we're having like, I'm going to have 15 people. We're going to sell 15 tickets. And I'm just having the money. I'm just getting the money so that we can get these guys out to this place to do this experiment. But these people are going to be guinea pigs in these experiments. So buyer beware. Sorry. But it's going to be something that's along, like, we're really going to try to tie into the emotion level, like the fear level, like putting somebody that had a bad feeling in a room before as they were walking through. We're going to put that person down in that room. We're going to Zach Bagans that person. And then we're going to do DRV, or we're going to do a ghost box session while that person's down there. We're going to have it all audio recorder. I'm hoping that Jay can come and bring his intercom system. Where he's got like one big ghost box that goes to like 8 different satellite speakers that he could put anywhere, and it all comes back to a monitor where you can monitor the waveforms and everything. It's like amazing. But he also has cameras now on those too, I think. Or he's wanting to put cameras on them. But like, that's the whole thing, is like, this is going to be a massive, massive ITC experiment. And I think that we got a pretty good group of people that are going to be doing this, don't you think?
I'm honored to be included with that group. Are you kidding? I am honored to be included with that group. Every name on that poster I look at, and it makes me feel like I've accomplished something to be at that table, at that forum with those people. Absolutely. And it's so cool because in ITC history, I mentioned Mark Macy before. He was a unifier. He had a group called INIT called INIT. And it was an elite level people who did spirit communication stuff. And nobody's really tried to do a replication of his INIT thing or organization that I have seen since he's done it. And you were the first person I see trying to do something like that. That's why I was so on board and so honored to be a part of this, because that's actual unity. That's not just throwing the word out there like something on a Hallmark card. That's practicing it, and that's awesome.
That's why there's a certain word I don't like in the paranormal field because it is just used as a species para-unity. I think everybody uses that damn term. It's like, that's something that people that people preach about, but like, where's the practice of it? You know what I mean? It's like you can say para-unity all you want, but like actual unity in the paranormal is what we need, not just the word. You know what I mean? It's like it almost seems like the word is divisive in a lot of ways, because people will get mad and say that somebody else is not para-unity. But like, you getting mad about that is not para-unity either. It's almost like it's like being intolerant of somebody who is intolerant.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, but you're intolerant too. So like, how it's like I don't know.
No, that's funny, man. That's brilliant. I totally agree. At the end of the day, before we're ITC researchers or paranormal people or whatever the hell we are, we're human beings, and you have to have a standard of conduct for yourself. 100%. And so, if you interact with somebody else, you have to hold yourself to a standard of decency, of self-respect, and don't deal with the people you feel are negative aspects or that you don't gel with. You don't have to deal with them. But you could still conduct yourself in a way that is self-respecting and respecting of others and the community. So yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. It's not just, it's divisive sometimes, and it should be practiced, not spoken.
100%. And I will say to, I forgot what I was going to say, but I had something that I was going to add to what something that you said, but it's all good. We can, is that letting that stuff get in your head, it will screw up your communication sessions. So you don't want that. You don't want that. You don't want the bad vibes.
Yep.
Yeah. Keep the drama for your mama.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So yes, I will be at Static Voices too, and I'm hyped. I can't wait to do that.
Nice. I'm excited to find out which one I'm going to. So.
Which one you're going to?
Yeah, which one am I going to? That one in June I work. So
all of the ones that you're coming to would be ones that you're going to be staffing. So I hope all of them.
Well, I'll be on the one in June. I work, so I'd have to come after work, but I will be there.
I mean, one. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I don't care. And I mean, if you're able to make it, like
I'm bummed.
I would love.
You know what? I'll mark that one on my calendar to use PTO. So I want to go to this one too.
There will be others. It's not my first ITC event, but it's the best one so far. It's my second one. But
it's awesome.
So Austin, how can people find your events and find all your team's locations and find your equipment that you build? I know you build and you sell. So how can people find some of your awesome boxes?
Well, along with the locations and the junk that I build, there are better builders that are our sponsors on the Underground Paranormal Network. And you could find links. I mean, I'm always sharing posts of their devices. I'm always sharing posts of great work being done in the field, locations that are within our network that we kind of help package together to make it easy for people to travel and experience them all. But it's all on Facebook and Instagram at _UGPN. But I don't have a website. I don't have that kind of money.
We'll get you a website. You need to have a website.
Well, I will have a website very soon.
Okay, good.
Well, Ron, you know what website?
Yes.
ITC Voices.
Yep.
Yes. Remember, I'm taking over that, and I'm hoping January.
January.
All I heard him say is, "I'm taking over and I'm on board."
Well,
I'm
you are already in the project, man. Like I've already given him full. Like he's going to be in charge of the DRV page because there's like a whole long extended history of DRV use before Ron came along. I mean, that was long before Ghostbox, like the sweeping Ghostbox even was around. I mean, I guess you would classify even Tesla and Edison's work as DRV in a way. Maybe not Tesla's, but Edison's for sure.
Yeah, it very well could have been. Yep.
So I mean, like that kind of stuff. I mean, that's going to be a lot of information and videos, audio clips. Like, I mean, and a lot of the stuff that him and Lord Ez are doing right now. And I mean, I hope that Ron's going to continue to add to that as he's getting more evidence because he does get some pretty damn good stuff.
Well, I appreciate that, and I definitely want to add to it too. And I still speak to Dr. Annabelle Cardoso in Spain. I interviewed her at the New Jersey Paraunity Expo in September, and she worked with Marcello Bacci. She worked with Ernst Sinkowski, who created the term ITC. She's ITC royalty to me. She's a sweetheart, and her books are what started me out. So I'll see if I can get her to
give an interview or something. Give her something.
She actually wrote the about the author forward for my book, and she was the inspiration for what I'm doing with DRV. So I was humbled tremendously by that.
Nice.
Oh shoot, yeah. I mean, anything that she could add to the DRV aspect of it, man, that would be amazing. You know, I'm even talking to Jim. I'm even talking to Jim Pfister about some of Frank's original notebooks and shit.
Oh yeah, he's tied into that.
Articles. And I mean, I know that Jim has held on to a lot of those things. I mean, Jim is his best friend.
Yep.
So I mean, if he has a lot of stuff that has not been released to the public, you know what I mean? A lot of stuff that Frank wrote, like notes, articles, even schematics and stuff. You know.
Wow.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that Jim is going to be adding on there too, but like that's the kind of stuff that, you know, even with her over there, I mean, that would be amazing to have any kind of insight or stories or anything from her as well.
Yeah, she's such a sweetheart. I talk to her every so often through WhatsApp from over in Spain. She's so nice and amazing stuff she's gotten. Amazing stuff.
That's awesome.
You're real quick. I did pull up the poster. So you can see the available locations. Oh, except the one on there is not available.
Yeah, you got the old poster.
I just pulled it up off the page real quick right now. So if that means I have it right now, it means this is what other people are seeing on the page. So,
and I must need to update it. But the one that's not that's on hold right now is the 6th precinct, the Detroit 6th precinct.
But that's okay because we're gonna be replacing it with another location, hopefully this spring.
Well, yeah, we got that one plus the other one that we've been working on for a long time that we haven't announced yet. We're just waiting on the city to give us the approval.
Yep.
Well, they did after certain something is released.
Certain something,
and I can't say anymore. But we got those two already, and we're hoping that the precinct is going to be able to be opened back up. I know that Ed's son Tim was working with it, was going to talk to the city and see like what specifically needed to be finished up before it could be reopened to the public, as well as whatever fines got to be paid. And so like we're working on that, hoping, fingers crossed. But yeah, for right now it's kind of closed down.
Right on. Well, with that, guys, make sure to reach out to the Facebook page for Underground Paranormal, or reach out to Austin. I'm happy to answer questions, but I'm just going to direct you to Austin. But guys, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast. I've learned so much. We need to do a part 2 and have you guys both come on, and maybe this time we can make it so that the Hultays and maybe several other people can come on, so we can continue to learn, continue to get the word out there. So I really do thank you guys.
Yeah, we need to get Katie on here, the only female builder that I think is in the field, really, like actively creating new devices. Her perspective would be great. So,
yep,
yeah,
I agree.
And I thought I thought I was hot shit because I could change the frequency of my SB7. Going a little slower, going a little faster. From the vast vocabulary to references to actual experiences you guys have, I was just blown away. And time is the most valuable resource, so I appreciate your time, and it really means a lot to me that I got to spend this evening with you guys. So I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
All right. Hey, and with that, everybody, I hope you guys all enjoyed the show as well. And I hope that we help you over this whole day, help you slide on down into the weekend. And everyone, please stay safe, stay healthy, stay positive, guys. Let's keep on spreading that positive energy, because it's time for all this stupid negative nonsense to stop. We're better than this. And with that, guys, have a great one. We will see you guys next time.
This paranormal adventure that we're all on, it connects us. This is our paranormal community. This is our paranormal podcast with your host, Shawn Gilmore.
He's worked in the paranormal field for 10 years.
He was featured on the TV show Paranormal Survivor that airs on Travel Channel.
His passion is creating para-unity.
With your host, Brian Mursell.
He's worked in the paranormal field for 7 years.
He leads his own paranormal team.
He wants to help people start their paranormal adventure or grow their existing one. This is our paranormal adventure. This is our paranormal community. This is our paranormal podcast.
It's about supporting. It's about making para-unity a real thing, because we all need to support each other within our community, and that's what the show has always been about.